Waving so long to Daytona Beach, the Irish Hills come up next for the introduction of Gen 4 Muscle, a task mighty enough to open the door for a third different winner of the year. It's the third race in Season 7 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach10 Digital as we bring you tonight's Highland Homes Roofing 200 live from the virtual Michigan International Speedway. Welcome to beautiful Brooklyn, Michigan. We're so happy to have you join us for the Ride on Podium Esports, where alongside Dylan Connolly, as always, in the booth, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Ryan Bauer, our producer this evening, he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. And while Dylan, we've grown accustomed to watching draft-packed, high-action, 2.5-mile oval racing with Indianapolis to kick off the season, Daytona, which was an absolute stunner on strategy last week, we get to stay in 2-mile territory with a car that's much harder to drive in the Gen 4.
Yeah, it's a different beast that we've seen the last 2 weeks. You know, it's been a plate race the last 2 weeks, but you're going to see the same speeds, but you won't see the same kind of pack racing that you'll see. You'll see multiple grooves, guys running the bottom, guys ripping the boards, and everything in between. It should be a really fun race tonight.
A lot of the magic that probably transfer over from the Gen 4 Summer Series a couple of months ago might happen tonight. It's our first task with these cars, and it's the first lick of Pro Series action these guys will have with this high horsepower behemoth. We'll talk about the details of the car in just a couple of moments, but we'll kick things off, Dylan, with the schedule we have ahead of us. Of course, our first race of the Gen 4 is tonight. We will have a lot of that over the course of the season, so these drivers are not going to miss this one for much longer, but they'll have Pro 2 trucks next week at Watkins Glen. Then we step into November as we get closer to playoff territory. What seems to stick out to you? All these combos very much different, but all of them pivotal into a potential playoff run.
You know, the one thing that sticks out is all the Gen 4 races on there. I think they struck gold this summer when they had the Summer Series. You know, they had the Super Speedway Series with the next gen, and they'd alternate weeks with the Gen 4. I mean, the Gen 4 car on 1.5 and 2-mile tracks like Michigan, I mean, it's a very underrated combo, and it's one of the better ones that's on the entire surface. So I think all the Gen 4 races, you'll see who could really drive. Now, I mean, it shows a lot of skill for every kind of race, you know, even with trucks at Bristol, GT4 at Long Beach. That'll really show who's really skilled. But, you know, Gen 4 at 1.5 miles or a track like tonight is really going to separate the men from the boys.
And when we saw all of those Gen 4 races in the summer, you bring up a good point. You have that much separation between those drivers who are very skillful in this car and those drivers who are still trying to get accustomed to it. And all of those Gen 4 races, along with the other combos we'll see in this season, Dylan, will all play into this brand new Season 7 playoff format, which, again, every time we talk about it, I think the interest continues to grow and the intrigue as well, because you never see this in a iRacing style format. You don't see a March Madness bracket style make its way to decide the championship floor, but we've got a couple of different winners this season, many different drivers trying to tussle for the first spot in the point standings. That's going to matter big time once you get to crunch time later in the regular season.
Yeah, this was kind of the idea that Denny Hamlin had, and they put it out in NASCAR where, you know, they had basically it was just one-on-one racing over the course of a race. So like, you might have, say, Colin Fern or Ryan Vargas, who are two fastest in practice right now, going up against each other one week, and it's basically whoever finishes ahead of the other one is going to win. And I can't wait to see how these playoffs go. And it's going to be 16 drivers in the playoffs that are coming up here in about 6 or 7 weeks. But it's going to be, you don't know what's going to happen, because you might have someone who's been far away the best driver all season, which is based off points. This is not a win and you're in. They've done away with that format. But you might have someone, might have internet issues, or you might have someone that gets wrecked out where, whoever might that 16th seed be could end up winning and moving on to the next round and knocking out that guy that's been the points leader the whole season. So it's going to be really fun and interesting to see.
It's going to be a lot of fun when we get down to playoff time, and we'll also talk about positions and how the strategic minds in this series can try to put themselves in certain places. But let's talk more about this Gen 4 car. And Dylan, this was the happy little accident of iRacing. It's sort of a Bob Ross style accident in terms where it's a beautiful combination of adding the high horsepower engine to this former MNR series Chevrolet Impala, and it's sort of reminiscent of the old Cup cars, hence why it's called the Gen 4 Cup car. And ever since it was introduced into the sim, people clamored that it would keep staying on iRacing. iRacing responded with, hey, let's give you a full official series. Let's let you keep this car. And MNR, ever since implementing it into the series, it's been a fan favorite.
Yeah, it was really interesting how it happened. In fact, I was there when everyone kind of discovered, like, hey, this got a little bit more mustard to it. There's a lot of power to this car, and everyone was begging and begging and begging, because usually, they've had mistakes like this before, and it happens with any company of any kind, where I think as soon as the next gen came out, I think you could go 200 miles an hour in reverse, just a fun little historical fact. But I think they were fine with this, because they were like, well, this is something everyone wants. It wasn't something that everyone thought that they wanted until they drove it, and they were like, wow, this is amazing. So it's a fun car. It's a fun combo. I've driven a lot in official races, and I was able to participate a couple races in the summer series, and it's a blast. I mean, you're right on that edge, you're right on the ragged edge, you're ready to wreck every single quarter, it seems like. So throttle control is important, but it's amazing how on the edge a 3,400 pound stock car can be.
And you talk about the memories of when it got first implemented into iRacing. I remember just scrolling through Twitter late night, and everyone was just like, whoa, this car is insane. And then all the reactions, it felt like a big culture shock on iRacing, right? When they implemented this car, and everybody immediately said, yes, we want more of it. iRacing responded accordingly, and now we've got this Gen 4 car running in Monday Night Racing and across the sim, and iRacers have definitely enjoyed it over the tenure that it's been around in 2023. Here's a look at the first driver for single car qualifying. That's right, it's the first time we're doing it in Monday Night Racing Season 7. And up on the docket is Blake McCandless, former broadcaster and play-by-play voice of the series. I gotta say, beautiful NASCAR on NBC paint scheme for his Dodge. He crosses the line. This will be his first official set time. And Dylan, this is gonna be a lot of fun to watch, because we did it in the summer series where we saw one driver at a time take qualifying, and it's sort of a masterpiece to see what the drivers can cook up in 2 laps and how they handle these Gen 4 cars around Michigan.
Yeah, it's one fun thing, by the way, about his car is Blake McCandless, not only is he with eNASCAR, but he also kind of shadows NASCAR and NBC, all those guys, and he saved it. But I think that's going to ruin this lap right now, but he'll come across the checkered. But that's one cool thing about Blake is Blake McCandless is one of the bright and shining stars of the future when it comes to not only sim racing broadcasting, but real life broadcasting. He's on the Cars Tour, so can't wait to see what Blake does tonight and in the future, as Mod and Ramen is on track now.
I was about to say that. Blake already taking the commentary role in the Cars Tour and slowly stepping up to real life. And it's so awesome to see McCandless's growth over the course of the last couple of years through NASCAR and through the real life stuff he does over in North Carolina. But Ramen next up, and a little loose out of turn 2. McCandless's fastest lap was a 39.565 despite his loose moment out of turn 4. And Ramen here in turns 3 and 4, what appears to be the final time, just wrestling this Gen 4 car around the outside of turns 3 and 4. He'll pick it up out of the corner at around 185 miles an hour. Will reach almost 200 before he crosses the start-finish line, and this should be the lap set. 38.9 38.329 for Monin Rahman, so put the 44 at the top of the board. Rahman ended up with a nice position there. He finished 7th last week at Daytona, and now here comes up next, driver of the 95, Dylan Noah Lewis.
Yeah, it's a beautiful looking car there. A little winter action here. I mean, we're just almost into November. November will be next week. Golly. But yeah, he's got the Coca-Cola polar bears on the side. Very iconic. You see those every year around this time of year. But he's looking good so far. It's a good looking line, kind of riding that second line, right on the seam. But the way that they set up the qualifying order, by the way, is they went off practice speed. So if you were slowest in practice or you didn't set a time, you were going first in qualifying and inverse and so forth. And Noah Lewis sets down a 38.732. He is second on the board right now, 4/10 off Monin Rahman.
And right behind the driver of the 44, and here is Connor Berry, driver of the 02 out of Menifee, California. Picked up his first career Monday night racing top 5 at Daytona last week, looking to build off of the momentum and a pretty tidy but also shaky line entering 3 and 4. This will be the first flying lap for the driver of the 02, and Berry, one of the young stars in this series, 2-time iRacing Pro Off-Road World Champion, and has been taking his talents to Monday night racing and slowly but surely proving himself amongst the field, and pretty tidy line in 1 and 2. We'll see what he can do this time in 3 and 4. And Berry will look to get the best start of the season so far if he can put it on pole over Monin Rahman at 38.329 lap. The target to beat down to the trial bowl. Connor Berry crosses the start-finish line. 38.342, not faster than Rahman's lap, but good enough for second.
I mean, that was still a pretty stellar lap. I think you'll see someone break into the 38 flats before the end of this. Someone like a Colin Fern or a James Bickford or somebody closer to the top of the practice times. I mean, we had them close in on the 38 flats and then into the 37s even, but a lot of those might have been draft data. But I think you'll see someone pop into that area as DJ Cummings is on track in that NASCAR Chevrolet. Well, you know, it's a Chevrolet. That's a Ford on the front of it. Excuse me. So it's very, very big Ford logo on the front and on the rear. But he's getting a little. He's fighting that thing in 3 and 4. He's sawing on that thing, and so he'll come off a 4. And this might be a pretty okay lap for DJ.
Comes across the start-finish line. Cummings at a 38.159, so fastest we've seen so far. How about that? The Ford with Chevrolet headlights puts it on the top of the board as here's Brett Baldeck next on the list.
Well, I thought that'd be an okay lap, but it was 0.2 of a second faster than the pole sitter right then. So Brett Baldeck on track now. That's a good-looking car. A lot of colors on the side of that. Very, very beautiful schemes in this league on Monday Night Racing. I've noticed that a lot of talented artists and everyone is, you know, very, very solid, very cool and smooth. 1 and 2 right there as they'll head down the back stretch. Is Brett Baldeck very cool, calm, and collected. Find that thing a little bit. He's having to go up about a little higher than a lot of the other drivers have been so far, but this should still be a solid lap.
He saw him skip up about half a lane in turns 3 and 4. 4-car across the line. And that 38.676, so that will put him at P4 behind Connor Berry, a little bit faster than the 95 of Noah Lewis. Seminole, Florida's Robbie Lyons is up next, driver for Grit Esports, and surely has found a lot of success team-wise. Brandon Houff and Nick Olson going at it to the start-finish line in Indianapolis to kick off the season. Olson's first career Monday Night Racing win, and then after that, of course, a little bit of a struggle at Daytona last week for both of them. Did not get the finishes they desperately wanted, but for Lyons, trying to get his best finish of the season as he goes into 3 and 4 in his beautiful, simple blue Chevrolet. Works out a 3 and 4 way high up. We'll try and complete this first lap.
Here comes the Blue Deuce off of 3 and 4. It's a couple shades of blue as he'll come across the start-finish line, and he will go to second on the board at a 38.311. He'll tap in just ahead of Monin Rahman, but about 0.2 off of DJ Cummings, who is still your provisional pole sitter.
And now up next is the driver of the 01, Joshua Slade out of Ashland, Virginia, co-founder of Behind the Wall Media, and trying to wrap the high side. And so what I'm seeing here, Dylan, over these qualifying laps is that really nobody is looking forward to entering the corner at the bottom end. Those first 2 grooves are not being used right now. Everybody's looking to that 3rd to 4th lane. Seems to be the fastest way around this Michigan International Speedway. Do you expect to see that come race time, or is this just to get a heater in qualifying as Slate comes off turn 4?
You know, I think you'll just see it in qualifying. Guys will just want that. They don't want to run up against the wall because it'll take too much time, and they don't want to run against the bottom because of the same reason. You'll actually shave off a lot of time just because you'll have to turn the wheel more, but they're trying to find that happy medium. Now, as the race goes on, I think you'll see as the tires wear, that top lane will become more a viable option, and then the bottom will be about the same. But I think just for a heater that everyone's trying to lay down, I think you'll just see them kind of run that third lane, that second to third lane.
Well, here's the 7 of Will Rogers, driver out of Hawaii, and actually does use that second groove that you see often with other stock cars on iRacing. That seems to be the best lane to save tires and be able to prevail over others on the longer run. So Rogers is committed to this first lane. You see that seam there, that darker line, those darker lines that span across the racetrack, those will be called seams. And as Rogers comes out of the corner using that first seam, he'll cross the line. That'll be a 38.522. That puts him P6 on the board in between Connor Berry and Brett Baldock. Nobody being able to beat TJ Cummings this time, but Dylan, we might have the first driver to do such a thing. Presley Sora in the 98, coming off of a decent finish at Daytona last week, where he came home in appears to be P12 back then at the World Center of Racing, looking for pole time here.
Yeah, Presley does a little bit of racing in real life. He does some dirt late model racing for a couple teams over in Indiana, and he's starting to make a little name for himself in the real life racing world in the state of Indiana and surrounding area, as he races a couple races for ARCA driver Brayton Laster. So he's dipping his toes into the real life racing world, is coming off a 4 here. He also, car looks exactly the same as to what he runs, as he'll come across the line, and wow, that's not the greatest lap ever, 38.4, as he'll tap into 6th place right now.
Probably didn't expect the car 98 to put in a lap that does not break at the top 5. So he is right behind Connor Berry in front of Will Rogers. And now next comes Jordan Buster, driver of the number 8 machine. And he'll be up top. So as opposed to Will Rogers, he'll take the other line, much like everybody else has done so far. And the driver of the 8 machine, Buster, coming out of turn 2. Pretty nice line in 1 and 2, although he skipped around quite a bit. It's just the balance that you have to have with these Gen 4 Cup cars is that you really have to be stable, you really have to be delicate, you got to make sure that you don't move that wheel all too much. And Buster a little loose in the middle of the corner, but he comes out of turn 4 just fine, breaking 190 miles an hour across to the start-finish line to the trial. Well, 38.466, bit slower there than Presley Sora.
Yeah, it was a real interesting line he took in 3 and 4. It was a lot higher than we've seen anyone go, but I mean, I don't hate the idea there. It's just a little out of the ordinary. I think he was trying to cut it back down to the bottom, but just couldn't get there.
So now here comes Brandon Brown in that typical Sim Seats car that we're so accustomed to seeing when Brandon Brown races in Monday Night Racing. And Brown with a very stable wheel going into turns 1 and 2. He comes out for his lap. Michael Fisher will be next, car 32. And then they'll have the 43 of Daniel Dye right after that, just sort of knocking down the list of drivers set to put in qualifying here. About 32.5 minutes left, and Brandon Brown comes away from turn 4. His first and only lap in queue, clocks in what appears to be 38.210. How about that lap from Brandon Brown, Dylan? Puts him to second.
Yeah, he's on the front row provisionally at the moment, as 12 cars have set a time. Got 20 cars remaining now. As that was an excellent lap by Brandon. I thought it was going to be about a 3, but it ended up shaving a 10th off of there.
So a great lap by Brandon Brown in the 12 puts him second. We'll see how long he can last up there, as here we look on board with Michael Fisher, driver of the number 32 and a part of a newly formed team in Monday Night Racing. You see those letters on the side and on the front of the race car, that Speed Factor, the new team being named for this season of MNR competition. They've got 5 drivers in their stable: Corey Deucer, Chase Cabry, Cole Cabry, Alex Monteferrante, and of course the driver of the 32 here, who puts up the fastest time seen yet, 38.105 by Michael Fisher.
Well, you know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think that time will be short-lived, especially with the couple drivers coming up next. As Daniel Dye is on the racetrack, made a couple starts for Alpha Prime Racing this year in the Xfinity Series, and made a couple starts in the Truck Series as well. As I expect big things out of Daniel tonight. A lot of your real drivers like Daniel Dye, Ryan Vargas. I see. Oh golly, I can't talk, but I'd see a lot of guys. Corey Heim, who's just logged in, by the way, might see him. So big night for those guys, I think, as Daniel Dye's coming off a 3 and 4. It's very solid 3 and 4. As down to the line, and it's a 38-3. Wow.
38-3-2-3. So that puts him right behind Robbie Lyons. It'll settle him into the top 6 as Ronnie Osmer comes up next on the board, and there's that beautiful Days of Thunder Lumina poster in the background. We love the camera for Ronnie Osmer, and the Dude Life Chevrolet comes into turns 1 and 2. Daniel Dye, by the way, raced for GMS Racing approximately 2 days ago. Homestead Miami Speedway. Got the chance to see him rip around the 1.5 mile speedway down in Homestead. Came away with a 21st placed finish in the Race to Stop Suicide number 43 Chevrolet Silverado. Nice to see Daniel Dye back in Monday night racing competition. Ronnie Osmer, as we said earlier, now looking on the inside. Interesting line there in a 3 and 4. Osmer comes up, and there's the chase to the start-finish line. We'll see where this 55 puts his time in. That comes in at 38.172. Pretty quick there for Ronnie Osmer. That puts him in 3rd.
Just missed the front row provisionally, but that's still a pretty good time. I think Ronnie will be pleased with that one. As Gary Sexton is on the racetrack right now, and that Liquid Death number 3, that's a good-looking car. You ever had Liquid Death? It's pretty good.
I've never had liquid. What is it? What does Liquid Death taste like?
It's like a sparkling mountain water. It tastes like it's water, but I mean it's pretty good. It's got a little flavor to it. They have other flavors as well. They have regular, and then I think they have a couple fruit flavor. But yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, that's Gary. Gary said he likes running it. He likes drinking it. He'll hammer through a couple cans here probably during this race. As he'll come down, and that Liquid Death machine will be in. Well, he's one of the 4 cars in the 200s right now, as he laid down a 38.2, as he'll be in 4th place at the moment.
Good lap by Gary Sexton, and I don't know if Liquid Death is the name they chose just to kind of create a shock value in it. Because if it tastes good, then it wouldn't be Liquid Death, right?
Well, what's really funny is Christopher Tate's on track. The Liquid Death cans, they almost look like a beer can. So you get that shock factor if you're drinking that like at work, and they'll think, oh my God, why are you drinking a tall boy at work? But they say, no, it's just water, promise.
It's like, it is 8:35 in the morning, Jim. What's going on right now?
Yes. Why are we hammering out tall boys here at work? So.
All right. Christopher Tate on track, driver in the 33F Racing Machine, and Tate will come across the line. And as he goes through 38.362, that gets him to 11th, right behind Connor Berry, not able to break the top 10 just yet. Here is a man that's certainly on fire right now, Decon, a driver that's yet to pick up a Monday night racing win, but has knocked on the door several times. Bailey Turner, the driver of the 5, came away 6/10 short of Adam Cabot at Daytona last week, where he and 3 other drivers ended up on a strategy call that set them up front for the rest of the last segment of the race. And the 5 of Turner has performed quite well dealing with these Gen 4 cars over the summer. Now it's his time to prove in the fall. He comes away, turns 3 and 4 for his lap.
Got another good-looking car here. Bailey Turner, I mean, he's been the most consistent driver, I think, so far here. If not, he's on the short list as he'll come across the start-finish line. 38.118. He moves to the front row, right next to Michael Fisher right now. Great lap for Bailey Turner.
So Turner puts it in 2nd. And Turner is P2 in point standings. So a nice move up. It was +7 for him after last week's race at Daytona. It's certainly been a big pickup for driver of the 5. But one who needs a big pickup this week is the driver of the 24, the Grit Esports Chevrolet you're seeing on track right now. And on the bottom right of your screen, Nick Olson ended up in a crash early at Daytona last week, put him 32nd at the end of the race at Daytona. And certainly one of the better drivers in the Gen 4 series over the summer. Did not pick up a win, but again, much like Bailey Turner, a driver who was so close, has been able to grab some poles, has been able to lead some laps, and this time through at the line, 38.224. So that puts him just outside the top 5 and 7th beneath Brandon Brown. Just shows you how good of a lap Brandon Brown put down, as the next driver in line is Ford Martin. And Dylan, you and I were talking about it, how you found out that his dad, Gil Martin, crew chief in the NASCAR Cup Series back in the day, and here's Ford on track right now.
I was reading an article over the weekend. I'm a big NASCAR and sim racing historian, And I was reading something about Gil Martin as Ford's getting a little loose off the corner where, he was working on the 29 car at RCR and he'd always bring his son Ford with him. And I was like, Ford Martin, I wonder if that's the same one I asked him pre-race. And he was like, yeah, that's my dad. So fun little connection to the NASCAR world as Ford is already a spotter in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series for Haley Deegan. So yeah, that's a fun little connection. Those of you that remember the name Gil Martin, as Ford comes across the line at a 38.258. Pretty good lap there for Ford as he'll slot into P9 right now as we have about a dozen cars left to qualify.
Yeah, slips into the top 10. Decent lap of the Mach10 Digital Chevrolet. And, Gil Martin was part of the broadcast team on Monday Night Racing for one race a couple of seasons ago. And him and Ford just had back and forth banter every time they were joined in the booth. Here's Raja Carruth sideways and around in turn 2. Carruth, who just came around for his first lap, is going to spin it around, and I'm sure he's going to try and salvage this lap, but it surely is over, and they're going to give the green flag to Corey Deucer in the 04, who clears away from the smoke. Carruth is going to abort his qualifying time. Looks like he'll start in the rear, Dylan. Not a good sign there for Carruth, just making that little mistake. Exiting turn 2 as here's Deucer, ripping the very top here for his lap.
Yeah, I think Raj had a little too much dip on his chip as he's coming to the green this time by, but yeah, I think he's going to start last unless they decide to let him run again, which I don't think they will, as Deucer's taking the green flag and only a handful of drivers left. I believe Carruth and Corey Heim will be the only ones that don't set down a time unless somebody else wrecks, but see what Corey Deucer's able to do here. He was 10th fastest in practice. He looked pretty sporty over in practice.
And he ran pretty well at Indianapolis to kick off the season. Practice, he's been really fast, so we'll see what Deucer can put in for his qualifying time. The next driver up is his Speed Factor teammate in the 97, Alex Monteferrante. So those two teammates will come together in their Ford Fusions as here comes Deucer across the line. It'll be a 38.148. Nice lap there for Deucer. That'll settle him into third and will push DJ Cummings back a spot. And Monteferrante takes the racetrack for his lap.
You just love saying that name. I love Alex. He's a good guy to race around. It's always fun to say. Alex Monteferrante, as he is down into 1 and 2. That's a good looking car also. A lot of speed factor cars. He's having to wrestle this thing going down to 1 and 2 down the back stretch. I mean, you're fine with having to wrestle it a little bit, but if you have to wrestle a little too much, then you start shaving off tenths and even hundredths of a second. But I mean, looks pretty smooth right now. This is the lowest I've seen someone run for a little bit. As he'll exit off 3 and 4. We'll see how good this lap is for old Alex. As cutting the front stretch, and he throws down a 38.195. So it's pretty good. That's the lowest I've seen someone run in 3 and 4, and I guess it worked out pretty good for Alex.
Yeah, it was a pretty fast lap for Monteferrante there. Just love saying his name with the fact that I can, the roll of R's there.
Oh, yeah.
Having a little fun with that. But the 97 with a great lap, and here comes Joey Padgett, driver of the 83. Gotta love this classic paint scheme. This is the old Clint Boyer days back in 07, and obviously a lot of people recognize this paint scheme from when he flipped over at Daytona in the 500 as Kevin Harvick and Mark Martin raced side by side at the start-finish line. But it's a beautiful Jack Daniels paint scheme that Padgett is running and still looking for a win in Monday Night Racing competition.
Oh.
Here he comes out of turn 4. Really clean line, little wiggle here and there, but not too much to scrub off significant time. And for Padgett, 38.152, so almost close enough to DJ Cummings, and he'll get over him, and he'll be in P4 as it stands. Padgett with a good lap as here comes last week's race winner, Dylan Adam Cabot, point standings leader going into Michigan.
Here comes the Magic Man right now into 1 and 2. It's a good looking Atlas car. I love the matte black and the shiny red there. It's a pretty good looking vehicle. By the way, you don't really appreciate you mentioning one of the saddest days in the history of Arkansas, Mark Martin losing that Daytona 500 by mere inches. There were a few days of mourning took place after that. We thought I thought I was gonna be out of school for a couple days because he's one of the most famous Arkansans, but he ended up having a pretty okay career, I'd say, in NASCAR. As Adam's going to come down, and what's he going to have? A 38.122. He'll slot into third place right now with only about 7 drivers left to qualify.
Pretty fast lap there for Cabot, as here comes Chase Cabry in the 39 next up on the board. Chase Cabry has the most laps led with the Gen 4 car at a total of 119, and obviously, they've never raced this car in Pro Series competition, but they've had multiple in the Summer Series a couple of months ago. So Cabri does have a lot of experience with this car, and even in the lower powered version of this car, the MNR Series Chevrolet, the 39 was able to capture a win in that car at Twin Ring Motegi last season earlier this year. So Chase Cabri certainly knows a thing or two about getting a victory lane in this style of car, and as the Tampa, Florida native comes out of turn 4, he'll bring it in for his time in qualifying, and that comes in at 38 flat.
Wow.
So Cabri knocks Michael Fisher off the top of the board and takes pole.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to mention here. Chase and his brother Cole were real sporty every time these cars were racing in the Monday Night Racing Summer Series. I mean, they were always favorites to win, along with, there were a few others. James Bickford was, Colin Fern when he raced, but those two were always the most consistent and the most sporty when these cars were racing.
Yeah, he's always been super fast with his car. And him and Cabri, Cole Cabri, his brother, both of them, I think, finished 1-2 in a race in the Summer Series, or at least they've been closer together. As here comes Brandon Half, driver of the 9 for Grit Esports, teammate of Nick Olson, as he comes out of turn 4 in that beautiful Casey Kane style throwback scheme. He'll come across the line. That docks in 38.147. So the former pro driver, Brandon Half, puts it in top 5.
I think Brandon will be happy with that lap, as the second Camry we aforementioned in the 51 this evening is on track, as we're down to the final 5 cars. It's just Cole Cabri, Bickford, Reed Wilson, Ryan Vargas, and then Colin Fern will round out qualifying here. So we're getting to the nitty-gritty here. So again, I think Brandon will be happy with that lap right there, as I believe he'll lock himself into the top 10. Cole Cabri, 3 and 4. Seen a lot of drivers move down low. I don't know if that was something that Michael Fisher kind of opened the book on, saying, you know, you can run a lot lower and get a lot more speed. As coming down to the line, Cole Cabri, he is going to set down a 38.082, just ahead of his brother. Wow, what a lap for Cole Cabri, because right now it's an all Cabri front row.
Yeah, the Cabri's at the top of the board, but here comes the man with the most ever poles in Monday Night Racing history, looking to steal it away from Cole. That's James Bickford for Charlotte Phoenix, entering turns 1 and 2. And by the way, for Cole Cabri, he was the winner of the most recent Gen 4 race in Monday Night Racing, the Summer Series at Homestead Miami Speedway. Came away with a W, and James Bickford with a really clean line in turns 1 and 2. I mean, he's gotten pole so many times, it's felt like we've called his name over and over and over again in recent memory. And through the Summer Series, had the hottest start, went 2 in a row, and look at his focus on the bottom right of the screen, using the inside in turns 3 and 4. And out of the final corner, James Bickford tries to go for pole. 38.056 in practice. Does he mimic it? No, he does not. 38.184 for James Bickford.
Down to just a small handful now. Reed Wilson is on track now. Former K&N driver Reed Wilson in the 66 machine in the DIYsim.com Chevrolet Impala. Good 1 and 2 right there. It was very, very smooth on the inputs there, as head down this long back straightaway here in Michigan, the Irish Hills, as he'll go down to 3 and 4. You've seen everyone do it ever since Michael Fisher did it, where they'll kind of hug that bottom, but I think Reed washed up a little bit, and this lap might not be the greatest ever, but I think it'll still be pretty solid for Reed Wilson, as he'll come down to the line, and he is going to slot into 38.195, and he'll be in 12th position so far with 2 cars left.
Nice lap there for Reed Wilson, and here's the La Mirada, California native of Ryan Vargas, looking for a nice starting position here at Michigan. And the Critical Path Security number 26, of course, the sponsor that's been with Vargas for a little while now, and Vargas with a really clean line in turns 1 and 2. Of course, he's been around Monday Night Racing for a very long while. And for Gen 4 racing, I'm not sure that he was around that much in the Summer Series, but Vargas is going to come around here and use the bottom seam in turns 3 and 4, so he'll be one of the last drivers to come in on qualifying. We know Roger Carruth spun around on his lap. Colin Fern is next up. Corey Heim, who registered late, might not be able to set in a qualifying time. 38.099 for Ryan Vargas, so not able officially to get pole, but the California driver with a really good lap, as here comes Colin Fern Dillon, who set the pace in practice earlier today. and call this shot. Remember last week when we talked to him, he said that when we get to Gen 4s, he's going to go out and win the whole thing. Well, Colin Fern, here he is, trying to prove himself and take away pole.
Yeah, Colin's he's got a lot to say a lot of times, but it's, usually pretty good things to say. Is, he's always been really consistent. Colin can really drive. I mean, that's one thing that's very underrated about him is dude's a wheelman. I mean, he hasn't raced, to my knowledge, anything in real life for a little bit, but he's good as anybody. He's good as anybody in this field is tonight, as he'll come around 3 and 4, cut the front stretch. This should be a pretty good lap for old Colin, and he's going to lay down a 38.170. He'll be in 11th position, as it looks like it's going to be an all Cabri front row, Kenneth.
The Cabri is going to be at the top of the board. So with Colin Fern's 38.170, slots him in 11th, just outside of the top 10. So Cole Cabri will have the pole here from Michigan International Speedway and the Highland Homes Roofing 200 over the 100 lap race that we'll have in just a little bit. We have really close times between the drivers up at the front. One of those who ends up in the top 5 to start is Bailey Turner. So we'll bring him in. Got a couple of words from him before we get this race started. From Brooklyn. And Bailey, of course, you had a second place finish last week at Daytona to Adam Cabot. You've definitely been on the consistent side when it comes down to these Gen 4 cars. We saw a lot in that summer series. What are your expectations for tonight's Michigan showdown with the same cars?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of the same. I think the guys that qualified up front seem to be the guys that were really good in the summer series, and it'll be pretty tough overall, just competing with these guys, trying to manage tires and kind of figuring out that balance of how hard do you want to push it versus kind of manage your stuff throughout the run, because this place wears out tires a lot more than you think. So, like I said, it'll be pretty tough, but looking forward to the challenge tonight.
You have the highest average finish of the first 2 races so far this season at 6. And Bailey, I mean, you talk about it there, trying to save tires, make sure that you can elevate over the long run. Do you believe that this race will extend to green flag stops? Do you figure strategy is going to really matter, or do you think that attrition is going to be the biggest factor as you step into the race?
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of fast guys towards the back as well, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how they come through traffic. And I feel like sometimes in this league, unfortunately, that breeds some yellows. So I imagine we might get a couple cautions here up on the front end of the race, and that'll change fuel strategy and different things like that. But I mean, I would love for it to go green. I think the best races we see in this league sometimes are the ones that go green, and kind of seeing different strategies play out. And there's so many good guys in here that somebody's going to try something different. I always look at a guy like Adam Cabot, who just always seems to have the right kind of strategy. So looking to kind of match what he does, and me and him could stay up there at the top of the board, and we're teammates, so we're going to do the best we can to work together. So that's the goal. Try to get a solid finish, and I think points are so important the way the format is this year, that you just got to kind of manage that risk versus reward. But always looking to try to get that win, trying to finally break through in this league and put my name on that leaderboard.
Well, hopefully we see you at the end of this race as you still chase your first Monday night racing win. Bailey, we'll send you off to the grid. Best of luck at tonight's race from Brooklyn, Michigan.
Appreciate it. Go Niners.
Oh, yeah, the Niners playing Monday Night Football in just a little bit. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings, so we'll see how they do. I've got the TV on the right side. You don't see it on my camera, but I'm going to be keeping track of that MNF game as we move forward through the night. Let's get to your starting grid for tonight's Highland Homes Roofing 200, and it is an all Cabri front row. Cole Cabri in the 51 with a 38.082 will lead us to green. Chase Cabri will be on his outside with a bit of a slower lap, but they're going to round out row number 1. Ryan Vargas starts tonight in 3rd inside row number 2. Michael Fisher with a great run for his Speed Factor Ford Fusion. He starts tonight outside in P4. Bailey Turner, the man we just talked to, starts inside the top 5, and his teammate Adam Cabot will be alongside to close off row number 3 in your top 6. Brandon Howe from the 9 comes away with a 7th place starting position. Corey Deucer in the 04 ends up in 8th. Joey Padgett is in 9th to start tonight's event, and TJ Cummings in the 10 car. Dylan rounds out the top 10.
So back in row 6, we have Colin Fern and Ronnie Osmer in 11th and 12th. The next row, it will be James Bickford and Reed Wilson. Following row behind that, Alex Monteferrante and Gary Sexton. Brandon Brown, Nick Olson will be the next spots. And then in the 10th row will be Joshua Slate and Ford Martin. So that'll round out the top 20, Kevin.
Row 11 features Robbie Lyons in the 2 for Grit Esports. Daniel Dye in the 43 makes his return to MNR Racing. He is 22nd when we get the green flag. Monin Rahman, one of the first drivers to qualify tonight, is 23rd. Connor Berry, the California native who picked up his first top 5 in the series last week, he is 24th in row number 12. Christopher Tate in the 30 starts 25th. Presley Sora has a long way to go from 26 on the starting grid. Jordan Buster and Will Rogers round out the top 28 in row number 14. Brett Baldick and Noah Lewis, the 4 and the 95, conclude the top 30 tonight. From Michigan, Noah Lewis and Blake McCandless and Raja Caruth, as a matter of fact, they'll be in row number 16 and 33rd. And final in tonight's race from Michigan, Corey Heim in the 11. He'll bring it up from the rear of tonight's field after registering a little bit too late as qualifying ensued. Here's a look at tonight's Highland Homes Roofing race analysis from Michigan. Dylan, we've got 100 laps. It's a long race here from the 2-miler.
Yeah, pit road speed's going to be 55. This is going to be a fun race tonight. There'll be 3 attempts at the green-white checkered, and we're not scared to use them. No fast repairs. That came up a lot last week, where you had a couple incidents where people got big amounts of damage that were contenders in the race, like Nick Olson, and they were wiped out because of it. They will have all the same setup, be 100% fuel in the car. They will have 4 tire sets available in the pit, so roughly you'll get about 25 to 30 laps out of a set of tires. And yeah, that's about it.
Well, you remember Bailey Turner talking to us about saving tires over the run. Those 4 sets are going to mean a lot. And I think over MNR history, you have those situations where a late race caution does come out. Tires matter near the end of the event. So we'll see how the strategy unfolds over the race. Here's a look at our driver cam wall. It's about 5 or so drivers. Not many, but of course we get to see all their nice expressions over the course of tonight's race from Michigan. Hayes' car is down. Cole and Chase Cabry will bring us to the green. We're underway in the Highland Homes Roofing 200 from Michigan. Completing the 1 lap to get to full song, and it's Chase Cabry taking advantage of Cole early in the first 2 corners to take away the lead. Battle for second continues. Turner trying to make a run on the outside. They're also side by side for 4th. Cabot trying to work in Turner's draft on the outside of Ryan Vargas. A clean first lap. Chase Cabry out front for turns 3 and 4.
I was about to mention before the race, before we ran out a little time, I was kind of getting excited about how the race was going to look for the very last position, as you had Blake McCandless and then you had Corey Heim and Roger Caruth all there in the back, and we'll try to keep tabs on them as well, see how well they get up there. But it's all Chase Cabry and Cole Cabry up front right now. You're going to see they're all going to try to run the same line the first 10, 15 laps or so, I'd imagine, or stay within about 1 line of each other. Then you're going to see them get a little explorative, I think that's a word, where you'll see them run up against the wall, run up on the white line on the bottom, and you see them start experimenting here over the course of the race.
Here's a look on board with James Bickford, part of that experimentation, just seeing what the other drivers are doing, but he's all the way at the very bottom. I think one of the lowest we're seeing so far in this top 15 or so. The only other guy farther down there has to be Corey Deucer in the 04, who might just lose 5th to Adam Cabot in the 17. Now, they were side by side for the first couple of laps, but they've started to settle it out early. I guess they understand, Dylan, that they're going to wear more tires as they go side by side. They don't want to take that risk, and here is Corey Heim, who seems to be taking every risk after starting last. Heim already up to the top 20 from dead last on the grid. What a move up in the first 4 laps.
Corey Heim's got a big race coming up. He's in the Final 4 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, so he's got a lot of big races coming on up here, not just in Monday Night Racing, but in real life. As tune into that one, as there's a caution on the racetrack. There's a wreck in the back as we're under our first yellow of the night.
And it's Gary Sexton involved in it. I almost presume that Presley Sora got damaged. He does. So our first caution out at lap number 5, and And Sexton, you see him there, the frustrations as well. Trying to take a look at what happened. It started in 3 and 4, and indeed was contact between the 98 of Presley Sora and the 3 of Gary Sexton. A look into turns 3 and 4. Just a lot of separation, but I believe registered contact from Raja Karuth, who seemed to suffer some connectivity issues, got into Sora, and then nothing that Sora can do here, Dylan, before avoiding the 3. Obviously does not, gets into him.
Yeah, that was just real weird. But I mean, I hate it for Gary Sexton. He looks like a crumpled up soda can right now, or crumpled up liquid death can at the moment. But I think he can get a lot of that damage fixed and be back out here running pretty decent here if he gets enough cautions. But it doesn't seem like race-ending damage there, but it is a tough break for him and Presley Sora, as they're getting some damage fixed now on pit road.
And the 3 car at the tail end of the field, he'll try to come down pit road to get his damage repaired. And we were talking about the tall bottles of liquid death. Well, Sexton now has a tall order ahead of him to try and get his race car fixed, as a bulk of the field will come in, and the 3 car, of course, will follow him and Sora with a bit of damage early on. Our first caution here in the Highland Homes Roofing 200. Let's see if we can dial up Gary Sexton as he comes down pit road. Gary, I know obviously there was nothing you could do on that incident, but just take us through your thoughts and just your take on what happened there.
No idea. I was just in the corner, and then I'm in the wall. Sounds like it's the same crop of characters causing the same stuff over and over. Yeah, netcode or whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's still coming from the same car. Probably driving in way too hard. I don't know. Race is over on lap 6. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
Well, of course, you've got a lot of damage early, but the good news is that there are still about 94 laps left in this race. How do you feel you're going to try to keep the resiliency to move forward and try and fix this car and try to salvage good points finish out of it?
Maybe. I got 8 minutes of optional left, so we're going to be about probably 10, 15 laps down by the time it's done. I don't know if it'll be worth it. We'll see.
Gary, a tough break early. We feel for you. Know there was really nothing you could do on that incident. Just caught up in 3 wide in turn 3. We appreciate the time, and hopefully you can get back out on track soon. So Gary Sexton in the 3 with a bit of damage early on after the first caution thrown here at Michigan. And Dylan, I saw a lot of racing at the front between the 2 Cabries. Of course, Chase and Cole just keeping their P's and Q's. Their P's and Q's at that point, just kind of in an orderly line. Ryan Vargas, Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot. Some of them going a little rogue here and there, but looks like the top of the field just got things organized, and that seems to be the tone they want to set for the start of the race.
Yeah, I think they were just kind of feeling each other out, because this is a way different beast than they've dealt with the first 2 weeks, where, you know, there's not that it doesn't take skill to do super speedway racing, but anyone can, you know, end up with a pretty decent finish. But in this, I mean, you're trying to save tires. This is the first race they've had to save tires, so you'll see a lot of that happening here up front. I don't think it'll get too dicey until late in the race, but I've been wrong before. But I think you'll see them they'll be real cautious up front, as we have 1 to go.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dylan. But
we have 1 to go. That's it.
All right, well, 1 to go. But I mean, watching through the Gen 4 Summer Series, we kind of saw that trend, right, where a lot of drivers at the beginning of the race were really, you know, careful, really cautious about what they were going to do behind the wheel, just getting loose, you know, making sure they don't overextend the race car all too much. But then when you get near the end of the race, that's when they start letting these things loose, and that's when it gets a lot of fun. It gets pretty dramatic when guys are sideways in the middle 3 wide, like we saw at Chicagoland a couple of months ago, and you know, they're pushing it to the very limit to go for the race win. Right now, though, a little calmer through the field, despite our first bit of action to create our first caution of the race. Pace lights are off on the iRacing official pace truck. The 39 of Chase Cabry will lead him back to green. His brother Cole on the outside. The 2 Speed Factor Ford Fusions setting the tone early on, and they're going to keep the rhythm up here. Green flag, lap number 8 of 100, and a good restart here, Dylan, by Ryan Vargas, trying to force his nose to the inside for turn 1.
I forgot to mention this earlier. It has not been a good 5 minutes for Gary Sexton. I was going to mention his Phillies hat, then I realized that the Phillies immediately lost this evening. We'll go to a Game 7, but yeah, Gary Sexton, Presley Sora, I believe, out of the race, as it looks like Chase Cabry out front, kind of pulling away. Him and his brother Ryan Vargas back to 3rd, and Tell you, Ryan Vargas done some pretty interesting real-life racing, Kenneth. If you've been paying attention to him on Twitter, he's been racing in the Euro NASCAR series. Been a real fun story to keep track of. As you know, he's been. I'm kind of a night owl, so I'll kind of see his tweets when it's race day, and he'll be racing. I forget where they race at, but he'll have his race day posts about 3 o'clock in the morning. It's been a real fun thing to keep track of as you're on board with James Bickford.
And all because of 3F Racing, the opportunities that they've given Ryan Vargas. Look at James Bickford. Oh, we got two. Michael Fisher gets turned by his teammate in the middle of the corner. That will bring out the caution flag 150%. And as the field tries to clear the 32, Michael Fisher in trouble early, and it was a bit of contact with his teammate, the 97, Alex Monteferrante, barely getting into him, creating our second yellow of the race. Fisher, I believe, was able to get away without any more damage. Nice job by the field to get around, but look at this, 3 wide, the 97 with a run. Just a bit of contact to the rear of the 32.
Got a little left front damage, but amazingly enough, this was really only a 1-car accident. I mean, he actually 2 because he got bumped, but I mean, I'm amazed that actually wasn't worse than what it was.
It's a better angle from it. Overhead shot. Look at the field fan out. Great job on avoidance from everybody to get away the 32 of Fisher as he went sideways. There's a look on board. Colin Fern, who had a pretty interesting start to the race, and a good sight here in front of him. He tries to save it. Beautiful job getting away. It was very smooth, but certainly enough to make that space. It's away from Fisher's spinning Ford Fusion. We're under caution again at lap 10.
Yeah, that could have been a whole lot worse than what it was. You know, it was right in front of about half of the field, and everyone did a good job fanning out there. That was one of the wider parts of the racetrack, though, since it's all paved. You can go all the way down that inside wall and have a lot of room to dodge an accident. But Michael did a good job holding the brakes and keeping his car where it should have been.
And just a minimal contact that does send a car around. And these Gen 4 cars, obviously the same build as the Menard Chevrolets in the form that the bumpers do not align, the front and rear. So if you're behind the car, you get into them, you dig into their rear bumper, it's going to kick up the tires, send that car out of control, and obviously going to spin them around. So Monteferrante, obviously no purpose to get into his teammate there, just a bit of that contact as they were trying to get the run out of the corner. So our second caution out here in the Highland Homes Roofing 200. The Cabries continue to lead this race. We'll see if anybody can break that duo up. You're watching coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach10 Digital right here on Podium Esports.
Mach10. Let's give Mach10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Welcome back to Brooklyn, Michigan. Coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series is brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. For all your roofing needs, go to highlandhomesroofing.com. And by Mach10 Digital, where innovation meets creativity. 12 laps into the Highland Homes Roofing 200 from Michigan International Speedway. Welcome back to the coverage on Podium Esports. Kenneth Bueno, Dylan Connolly, along with the ride in the booth. Ryan Bauer, our producer this evening, using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. It's been a tale of the Cabries so far. We've had a quick 2 yellows to bring us under pacing once again. Most recent accident involving the number 32 of Michael Fisher, getting into it with 97 of Alex Monteferrante, got into his rear bumper, sent him around. Dylan, we've only seen 12 laps of action, but what have your thoughts been so far on the race?
Up front, it's been pretty tame, but kind of in the middle and into the back of the field, it's been kind of some racing incidents, it seems like. Nothing crazy just really happened. It's been 1 or 2 car accidents, but it's been about according to plan what I thought. You'll have the cream rising to the top, and everyone just kind of feel each other out during this first 10th of the race.
Well, no one's been able to stop the Cabries, and as they get the green flag, they're going to be controlling row number 1. They get to the start-finish line. Barney the flagman gives the go-ahead signal. Chase Cabry brings them back to green at lap number 13. Cole Cabry again under pressure. Ryan Vargas making a dive to the inside in turn 1. They almost make contact, and Ryan Vargas forcing his way to second in the top 7 breakaway for a moment out of turn 2.
Yeah, Rhino's looking pretty sporty out there in the second position. He's wanting to snag a Monday Night Racing win here in these Gen 4s. He's looking pretty good so far. Of course, it's been all Chase Cabry since we've started the race, but you'll see them all start to like line up like this, but you'll have to be 2 or 3 wide back there. But I think that middle to the second line from the top is kind of going to be that good line here at the start of this tire run. But as it goes on, about 20, 30 laps in, if there's a run, I think the top line will kind of be that good line.
You know what's interesting, that we saw everybody almost, Dylan, use the very high line in qualifying. First, they wanted just a 1-lap heater. That's all they needed to just get the track position. But as this race develops, nobody's really going up there. You're only seeing a handful try to experiment in that further line near the outside safer barrier, but for the most part, not necessarily the case. Everybody looking towards the bottom end of the speedway. 3 wide around the top 8 is Ryan Vargas. Fights on the outside here from Cole Cabry. How about the 3 wide action? Corey Deucer up top. TJ Cummings in the middle. James Bigford on the bottom. Cabry in the 39 continues to lead the laps, and they consider to settle it out around the top 10. It's getting dicey up here.
Yeah, it's getting a little fun up here as Vargas trying to look on the outside. He's going to do the crossover move, try to look on the bottom as Ryan and Cole Cabry were kind of arguing for second position, but they haven't sorted out as Ryan Vargas looking for the lead here.
Vargas in the 26 dives in on Chase Cabry. Bit of a bold move there. Almost got into the side of the Speed Factor Ford Fusion, but it gives the momentum to Cole Cabry to assist his teammate. And here in Michigan, of course, with the Gen 4 cars, this is not a draft-packed race. You're not going to have super speedway. DJ Cummings gets sent around. I believe he got spun by Roger Caruth. And the 10 of Cummings goes sideways, but ends up righted. And that is another yellow flag at lap 16, Dylan Connolly.
So we'll look at the replay here. I don't think this was all Roger Caruth, though, as we'll get a look up of turn 3 and 4. I happen to just be looking there. You'll see coming off before, DJ's going to start to work his way down, try to arc it into the corner, and looked like he just turned across the nose of Roger Caruth. So depending how, I think just in my opinion, now race control is going to see what they see, but I think a lot of that was on DJ Cummings. Just he wasn't exactly clear and just cleared himself.
Take a look here from Roger Caruth, and yeah, it looks like he held his line. DJ Cummings just drifts a little bit down, just trying to close it off on the 13, and unfortunately they make it's minimal contact, but again, at around 195 miles an hour, 197 as they made that contact, it is obviously going to send the 10 around, and Cummings goes for a spin. But the good news is he's all the way at the grass on the front stretch, so no one was able to get into him. The 10 is going to escape without any damage, but we are going to be under caution again. Cummings is going to drop to the top 30. So Chase Cabry continues to lead this race at Michigan, and while these drivers have been able to tackle these Gen 4 cars, they've been trying to tackle Dylan, this Michigan International Speedway. Take us through this Roger Penske-owned track that started back in 1968.
Well, this track has had some of the best races that you could ever see here, and it has a sister track that's out in California that's about to be demolished for a short track, it sounds like, here shortly, but it's an exciting track. The turns are banked 12 to 18 degrees, got progressive banking. It's a D-shaped oval. It's very similar to a very old track that was making waves in NASCAR, a Texas World Speedway, but it's very fast-paced oval. It's one of the favorites on the racing schedule because in real life, again, you'll see them just like this. They'll be around the bottom, the top, the middle, and the restarts, along with probably here at Pocono, are some of the wildest restarts in all of NASCAR.
We just kicked in Dylan, my inner geek. I remember just diving into like lore of racetracks and then finding Texas World and then having to find those like old archived videos of Texas World Speedway and the road course configuration they had that extended past the back straightaway. And yeah, Michigan is sort of similar in size and shape to that Texas World Speedway and of course Auto Club that will become a short track like you said, but it's such a fun track to race at, and it's seen a lot of great races here Monday Night Racing, whether it be through the trucks that we saw most recently. Last time we were here, the 1987 cars when we raced here. I think we raced the super late models here as well, so we've seen a plethora of different cars raced at Michigan. As we will watch drivers come out of pit road, it looks like they will be led by the driver of the 26. Ryan Vargas comes away from 15th. And Dylan, we're seeing drivers stay out early. Is this the right call?
Well, I guess we'll find out here shortly now, won't we? But that's a real interesting call for Vargas to come down when he was sitting second or third position and then, you know, give up that track position. But if they think that there's enough of a difference between 17 lap and fresh tires, then, you know, more power to them. But I think it might be the right move, because I think you're going to see us probably start to go for a longer green flag run. So they're hoping that it goes for a longer green flag run, and then we'll just see from there. But I think we'll see. I think this will be a way for people to tell, like, hey, I can go longer on tires and still survive later in the race. So I think it's just a short strategy call that's not too big of a risk. And, you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I think these guys that pitted are good enough to get back up front.
And they're probably at the front expecting another quick caution to come out, right? To the point where they can come in and be able to have fresher tires than those behind them. And, you know, there's been a lot of drivers here that stayed out that created about 14 cars of separation, maybe 13 between Ryan Vargas in the 26, Chase Cabry up front in the 39. So, of course, there is going to be that big buffer. And you were looking at the driver of the 71, Blake McCandless, who started tonight in 31st. He's up into 8th with this strategy call. And in fact, there are a lot of guys who started maybe 20th or worse finding their way into the top 10 with this call. Daniel Dye in the 43, who started 22nd. He's up to 6th place. 28th was the starting position for Will Rogers. Car number 7 is up to 9th. And there's another look at Daniel Dye. Just finished up the race at Homestead Miami Speedway a couple of days ago. So with this strategy call, and there's Rogers in the 7, we'll see how they fare, especially with Ryan Vargas, Bailey Turner. All of those hard-charging guys on fresh rubber might make a statement at this point in the run. Still, no one has been able to control the field other than the two Cabrys. Chase and Cole have been battling for the lead here and there. They've been holding up front, and we'll see if the strategy changes anything as they'll come out of turn number 4. Pace truck will make its way to the entrance of the pit lane, and it's car 39 with discretion at the restart zone. Cole Cabry there to follow as they reach the start-finish line. Late jump from Cabry in the 39, but we're back under green from Michigan, lap 20. And a good start there by the Cabrys, and look at Daniel Dye trying to force his way through the middle. He gets to the top of Joey Padgett, make that a case known for 4th on the back straightaway.
There's Ryan Vargas, our first on fresh tires there in the back of the field, as he's looking to make it 3 wide and a 3 here. Has a lot of grip on those tires right now, so Ryan Vargas making a charge through here along with those guys that took fresh tires. So we'll see how this shakes out about 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, but they're trying to tread the waters lightly. They're 3 wide here. Look at this pack developing around Ryan Vargas. They're going to be 3 wide for a top 11 spot in a turn 1. As Adam Cabot makes his way to the inside. We're 4 wide now for a brief moment exiting turn 2. These guys are on eggshells on these cold tires. There's a look on board from Bigford. He is not safe to the top 15.
Well, this looks like ingredients for about a 10 or 12 car wreck back here for 11th. Holy cow, they're still 3 wide. They're high, low, they're in the middle. I mean, this is good racing so far off this restart.
And a car sideways up front. That is Michael Fisher, who went sideways for one of our most recent yellows. He's going to be trapped in the middle 3 wide. There's a look on board with the California native as Ryan Vargas makes a move up top. Well, him and Adam Cabot have been going side by side through the field collectively. They have not been able to break away from each other, although the Cabrys up front have been able to break away from everyone else. It's been a tough journey through the field for these fresh tire cars. Look on board from Bailey Turner trying to step into the top 15. He started 5th tonight. trying to work his way through Christopher Tate in the 30. It's been a tough route for these guys so far.
Well, it's a big gaggle of cars for about third on back, but the Caber's kind of checked out. They have about a second lead over these guys over at third place that are arguing for real estate here, as it's getting a little hairy right now. I figured they'd wait a little bit to start racing, but, you know, we're about a quarter of the way through this thing, and they want to go.
There's a look on board with McCandless in the 71. He pushes to the outside of Alex Monteferrante. You were looking at Daniel Dye moving on the inside. He tried to make a pass on the 83. Joey Padgett, the Tallahassee, Florida native, and now the 97 gets put forward 3 wide. Now make it 4 for about a second or two. Adam Cabot going on the inside. And the 29 of Bickford just following in the footsteps of the Atlas Hair Care number 17. Boy, it's getting chippy up here. But they're slowly, methodically working their way through the field, and it's working. Like McCandless, the next car on the docket.
You know, those cars that took fresh tires, you could wear your tires out pretty easily as you're trying to charge through the field because you're taking unorthodox lines to get around cars with older tires. So you could actually wear your tires out faster than you would have at the start of the race. So, you know, your tires would essentially be about the same as like 20 lap worn tires, even when it's lap 10, just based on what lap you're running. As we have a battle for the lead, it's going to be one of the Cabries passing the other one, as Cole is going to go in the lead, as Chase let him go, I think, as they go down to turn number 1 and they trade spots, and Cole Cabry goes to the point.
Just going to be switching that first position, and Chase not really going to fight him for the position. They know how far they are ahead of everybody. Third on back, and look at this. 3 wide, continuously out of turn 2. And again, this is a mix of the fresh and old tire cars. It has not been that easy for Ryan Vargas and Adam Cabot. They have been charging their way through the field, but it hasn't been as quick as you would expect. And James Bickford, well, he's been trapped in the middle of all this. He's on the inside here of Bailey Turner. Daniel Dye falls to the back end of this second main pack. And they're going to cluster again back to turn 1. But how about Corey Heim being able to stay up inside the top 10? He's got 8-lap old tires, so is on that fresh tire group. But after starting 33rd dead last in this race, Heim has been cool, calm, and collected as ever as he fights Blake McCandless for the 8th spot.
Yeah, Blake's trying to fight up there. He's just hanging around. As we see a lot of guys up here, as that was Blake McCandless, I think we were on board with, as they go down. We're 4 wide. Vargas gets run into as they save it. Look like Reed Wilson and Vargas make contact off of 3 and 4, as this is a big gaggle of cars now as the field accordions back as they head down to turn 1. As wow, that's getting real close.
Oh, McCandless ends up into the outside wall, but he keeps it out for turn 1. He's going to rip the high side. Raja Karuth is pushing his way forward. Remember, he got into DJ Cummings to bring out the most recent yellow. Now make it 4 wide on the back stretch. McCandless all the way up at the top. Turner and Reed Wilson in the middle. Karuth trying to force his way through in that Sunoco Chevrolet. They're going to solve it, entering 3 and 4. What a move, and they keep it clean out of the final corner.
What a move by Raja Karuth. He gained about 3 spots just with that one pass. He was riding the bottom, and he made it work, as now they go single file. I mean, you could go 4 or 5 wide here pretty easily. It's a very wide racetrack, but it's still pretty hectic. You know, if you have a real life spotter saying, hey, you're bottom of 4, top of 4, whatever it may be, but that's just, they're getting I see a lot of cars getting loose as these tires are starting to wear, as we have a new leader, Kevin Bueno.
Yeah, Adam Cabot has moved his way to the front, so the Cabry brothers finally get defeated in that instance, but it's because of the strategy. It's not necessarily because of their speed. They're going to go side by side still for a second, but they're going to bring in guys like James Bickford, Corey Deucer, of course, Raja Karuth in the number 13, Corey Heim in the 11. And Heim makes a dive to the inside in turns 1 and 2. So he looks for third. Ryan Vargas, who got into the outside wall, got a little pushed back in that main pack as he was moving through with the 17. Could have made a case that he might have been in the race lead, but there's Corey Heim in the 11, moving into third. Now diving onto the inside. Next car in line, Chase Cabry for P2, and Adam Cabot already up by 0.6 of a second. Just shows you, Decon, that clean air is really going to matter here, and as they continuously go 2 and 3 wide, Cabot is on an island all by himself.
Well, it helps you have clean air and fresh tires as well. As Corey Heim, it looks like he might move into second place with those fresh tires, and then he'll be on the chase for Adam Cabot. But those guys that took tires. You know, it's making a big difference. James Bickford, Roger Carruth are all moving into the top 5. So I think this is a big note saying, hey, if you could take tires, and it's been a little bit, take tires. Now, of course, all these guys that have taken tires, they'll have 3 sets left for the race. But these guys that haven't pitted, you know, like both the K-Breeze and pretty much everyone on behind them. Ryan Vargas has moved up. Corey Deucer was one that stayed out. But I think you'll be able to see later in the race that these tires are coming to a factor.
I wonder here as well, Decon, over the course of this race, if it stays green, those old tire cars, how are they going to attack this? Because they are consistently going to be on the undercut just because of the difference in tire discrepancy in tire life. As you look on board with Vargas almost getting into it with Bailey Turner, that fight decided for 7th place going into turn 3. Corey Deucer and now going on the outside in the 04 Ford Fusion. But for these guys on old tires, now how do they handle this situation? How much are they going to survive until they're going to have to say, hey, I'm coming down pit road, I'm going to have to try and undercut all these fresh tire guys, and if it stays green, where does everything cycle out? It's going to be really interesting to see as Raja Carruth dives to the inside of Corey Heim. Make that about for 2nd place. It's really tight, and James Bickford says, knock on the door, here I am, inside 3 wide.
Oh, that was real tight between Heim and Carruth there, as they're big counterparts. They race basically on a weekly basis in the Craftsman Truck Series. As these two know each other pretty well, as they'll head down to 3. But you mentioned the fresh tires. I think if there's another caution here coming, one's going to pit, so it's going to put everyone kind of in the same cycle. But if this stays green, those guys that pitted 17 laps later, of course, they're going to be able to go about, 15, 17 laps longer than those that didn't pit, even though we had a few cautions mixed in there. But it's going to be real fun to see how it plays out if it stays green, as Roger Carruth back in the back of Corey Heim. As you're on board with James Bickford, he's got a big view of this 3-car gaggle in front of him.
He's trying to be patient. Carruth gets a big run out of 2, and now we're 3 wide for the lead on the back straightaway. Corey Heim stuck in the middle. We'll see who comes away with this in turns 3 and 4. The Sunoco Chevrolet of Carruth dives to the inside, but it's no match for Heim, who makes it his time out of 4. Corey Heim from dead last to the race lead.
Yeah, I was wondering how long it would take Corey Heim to get up front. I knew he'd be a player in this race, but he was a little late. He wasn't able to make qualifying. It took him 33 laps, those of you scoring at home, for him to come from last to first. So it was very, very fun. Roger Carruth, that was also second to last, and he's in second to first. So it also took him about 33 laps. So it's been a fun trek for these two, again, that are very successful real-world drivers. So this shouldn't be a surprise to anybody here.
Definitely not, and we'd figure that Daniel Dye might be in this conversation as well, but the 43 is stuck on 34-lap old tires, so hence why he's not in this conversation for now. And James Bickford, who's also former real-life racer in the 29, trying to hold off Adam Cabot, but he's got a lot of real-world experience, so never count out Bickford either, as he watches the battle for the lead continue, and Carruth is sending it up in 1 and 2, had to back it up, and the 11 pushes through. Man, that's a big send by Carruth, and it did not work. That car just went right up the banking here at Michigan, and it did not want to rotate.
Yeah, that's one of the prices that you'll pay, because I know they had to charge pretty hard up through the field, take some unorthodox lines, and that's the thing that's going to pay the price. Is you're going to get a little tight because you've had to take some unorthodox lines, and your tires have warmed up pretty quick, because you're on board with Ronnie Osmer, as Blake McCandless is up a pretty decent amount of spots. He's up to 13th. He last pitted on lap number 5. He's up 19 spots. There's a lot of comers and goers early in this race, Kevin.
And of course, that's because of the strategy, but we are seeing the guys, even on the same set of tires, just either stay where they are or slightly move up through the field. Ronnie Osmer, you were riding on board with him. Car 55 started in 12th, and he's in 13th now, so he's had a pretty consistent night from Michigan. And there is Nick Olsen, the car of the 24, who started in 18th. He's back in 23rd, but look at the huge pack in front of him. He's got Connor Berry directly ahead in 22nd, but then there's about a 3 or 4-way fight for position, as we got one driver into pit road for the first time under green, and it is knock on the door. The 43 of Daniel Dye coming in for his first stop at lap 37.
So I don't know if this is a strategy call or if he was just fed up with how it was driving, but
caution
as we have a yellow, wow.
And it appears to be Ford Martin in the 07. who got unsettled out of turn 2, and that brings out the yellow as Daniel Dye came down pit road. Oh, man.
So we're going to see the replay of this, and very curious why this was a caution, but as we'll get a replay here shortly, as Ford got hit from behind by Brandon Brown, but he was able to save it, and it's really it. I mean, get a look on the board there, or he was sideways. He was sideways on the racing surface, but I mean, it's better to be safe than sorry, I suppose. But that's a real strange yellow there. But we are under the 4th caution of the night here in Michigan.
07, another look at it. Yeah, he was perpendicular to the racing surface, so easy call there for race control to say, hey, that is probably a caution. We don't want things to get worse. We're going to slow the field down before push comes to shove there at lap 38. And it was interesting there because Daniel Dye came down pit road, so he might get absolutely fleeced on this call, and he might go a lap down. I think he should be okay. For Raja Karuth, though, he was about to come in. He said pitting this time, pitting this time, pitting this time, I believe. So either maybe he was...
Well,
maybe there was a strategy call there, but here comes the leaders on pit road, and that's everybody coming in to the feeding zoo other than Ronnie Osmer.
You know, if Daniel Dye was able to stay on the lead lap, he's going to be the big winner here. As it looks like he did stay on the lead lap, so Daniel Dye is going to have a good look at the field on this one, as everybody's down pit road this time. And I think only had a handful of guys stay out. Ronnie Osmer stayed out. Presley Soares tried to take the wave, but Ronnie's going to shut off the wave for him, as Ronnie, who last pit on lap 17, is going to stay out. And looks like Daniel Dye is going to be the big winner from all this.
Big one there. Ronnie Osmer decides to stay out. Here's the race out of pit road, really close between Heim and Karuth. As they come to the line at the exit, Corey Heim in the 11 will have it, so he'll take 3rd on the racetrack. Ronnie Osmer, Daniel Dye out in front here from Michigan International Speedway as Osmer tries to adjust. Not sure what he's adjusting, but he's going to be up at the front on the oldest set of tires in the field. More from the Highland Homes Roofing 200 in a moment. You're watching coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach10 Digital on Podium Esports.
Mach10. Let's give Mach10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series is brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. Since 1986, Highland Homes Roofing has been the #1 company you can trust for all your roofing needs. To learn more about their services, go to highlandhomesroofing.com. And by Mach10 Digital, your partner for stunning video production and digital marketing solutions, and where innovation meets creativity. Welcome back to Brooklyn, Michigan. 40 laps into our Highland Homes Roofing 200. Kenneth Bueno, Dylan Connolly with you on the call. And we just had our most recent caution. We have 2 drivers that stayed out. Ronnie Osmer is on 22 lap old tires. Daniel Dye pitted right before the yellow, but he stayed on the lead lap, so he's got the freshest tires out of basically anyone in the field. Corey Heim, Roger Caruth filing in row number 2. Green flag back in the air. It's a shaky start for Osmer in the 55. Heim is not going to split him 3 wide yet until turn 1. Now it's 3 wide for the lead.
Oh, Ronnie Osmer's just getting shoved through the middle there as he's on old tires. He about lost it in front of Vargas. Oh, he saved it. Vargas hit him a little bit as they'll go down the backstretch. And our top 3 real-life racers up here in the Truck Series, as it is Dye, Caruth, and Heim. Your top 3 is, my goodness, Ronnie Osmer's falling like a rock as they're beating and banging in the mid-pack here as it's getting a little hairy up here.
Yeah, he was the only car to stay out on the oldest set of tires, and in my mind sort of questioning why Osmer did that, probably to save a set for later in the race, but for now it's not working to his favor. Bit of hip checking further back in the field. That was McCandless and what appeared to be Cole Cabry in the 51. Corey Heim is going to file into 3rd, trying to get the best of Roger Caruth, and here they are almost 3 wide. Coming off turn 2, Chase Cabry looking on the inside of Ryan Vargas.
Yeah, this is becoming a big battle up front here as Vargas, he is kind of just, he's been pretty much everywhere in this field. He's been in the back, the front, the middle, and he's putting on a solid run right now as he's sitting in about 7th or 8th position as you're on board with James Bickford. He's got a good view of the top 3 in front of him here. You know, they're kind of falling in line here. Daniel Dye, who we haven't talked much about, is leading this race, but since he's got fresh tires and clean air, he's looking pretty good up there as he's got a mirror full of Roger Caruth, about lost it off turn 2, but you know, Raja's a pretty good wheel man as they go down to 3 and 4. Looks like Raja might clear him and see if he does off turn 4. Looks like he will, and Roger Caruth's going to go to the point, Ken Bueno.
He's going to slide up front of Daniel Dye, but will Daniel have a response for the driver of the 13? He does. Moves inside on his GMS Racing teammate, and just like they did in the Truck Series race 2 days ago at Homestead of Miami Speedway, now they're trying to trade positions for the race lead here at Michigan, and the 43 will have it. Caruth will look for a crossover out of 2. The 43 backs up, so Caruth might have another opportunity as we'll look at James Bickford, who has been the patient driver here in all of this. Dylan Connolly, we've seen Heim, Caruth, and Dye as they go 3 wide for the lead, be aggressive as can be. Bickford has just been hanging around and waiting for his moment to strike, kind of like the Hamilton musical, where he's just waiting for his shot, and he's not going to throw it away. Caruth takes away the race lead. Bickford, though, has got the best seat in the house of these 3 to get into it.
I gotta admit, that's a pretty impressive reference you just made. I don't know too many racing broadcasters that make a Hamilton reference. That was world class. But James Bickford, he's just been sitting around. He's watching these guys burn their stuff up as he moves past Daniel Dye. But James Bickford's just kind of laying in the weeds, just kind of playing that Kevin Harvick role. That, you know, he's driving that 29 car. You know, just waiting for everyone else just to mess up and burn their stuff off while he can pounce at the end here as we're approaching halfway here, about 5 or 6 laps.
And it sort of calls back to the lessons that James Bickford learned over his stint in the Gen 4 Summer Series a couple of months ago. He came away, of course, he ran the Super Speedway Series, came away with wins on that category as well, but on the Gen 4 side of things, he dominated those last 2 races near the end. Charlotte and Chicagoland, of course, they both came down to strategy and, of course, just raw discipline and skills. Ryan Vargas gets in with a Bailey Turner. They almost go insane going on the back straightaway for turn 3, but Bickford has learned a lot, has that extra experience with this car in this series, and if you can use that to your advantage, then you could be a driver with the upper hand late in the going. Even though Corey Heim and Roger Caruth, as good as they are as real-life drivers and as good as they are as drivers in the sim, Bickford has those little tidbits of just racing these cars more often. So he might have the opportunity to just hang back and then unleash his fury whenever he has the chance to. As we look on board with Colin Furman, slides right up in front of Corey Deucer and got the 04 sideways. Blake McCandless now to the inside.
That NASCAR on NBC Dodge, I don't know exactly what Dodge that would be, but as he's fighting alongside Colin Fern there in that beautiful looking NASCAR and NBC scheme. Get only 2 more races left in the NASCAR and NBC schedule this year as he moonlights with them. He follows Parker Kligerman, all those guys along, and they got 2 more races. They do an excellent job of coverage. And Blake McCandless, certainly a big star in the future here, but he's got big plans here tonight as well, as he's fighting on the inside there, as Roger Caruth is now out to the lead now. He's got a mirror full of Corey Heim and James Bickford behind him, as he'll head down to 3, Kenneth Bueno.
The 11 is going to make a charge back to the inside. The Tricon driver for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is going to send it deep. And it turns 3 and 4. Caruth makes the crossover. That's a slide job by Heim. And this battle for the lead only continues to heat up. They've been racing each other hard. They've been racing each other clean. It's been a lot of fun to watch. And James Bickford has just been chilling in third. But while they do all this, look who's back in 4th and 5th as they sort of hip check each other up the racetrack. Chase and Cole Cabrey, Dylan drivers to start up front in tonight's Highland Homes Roofing 200. Never count them out. They're on the same tires as these guys up front. They've been single file. They've been saving. You never know what they can unleash at this stage of the race.
Especially approaching halfway, you've seen a bunch of tire strategies and how they've played out. 17 lap old tires. It may as well be 100 lap up here. And then you had Ronnie Osper stay out 20 lap old tires. But tires are going to they're going to come into play here. I think everyone's roughly got about 2 sets. I think Osper's got 3 sets left. But how they use these 2 sets over the last 50 or so laps is going to play a big part in who wins this race.
And Bailey Turner talked about that to us early in the show, right, where he said saving tires is going to mean a lot, where strategy in that case and rubber is going to really play a role into who's going to dominate later, who's going to fall back over the course of the race. And you're starting to see the drivers who have been saving in this stint start to slowly creep forward. Bailey Turner in the 5, like we talked about, he's up to 7th, but he's closing in the gaps. Adam Cabot in the 17, haven't called his name much in this second stint. He's in 6th, and then of course the Cabrey brothers, 4th and 5th, who are starting now to close in on Bickford, Heim, and Caruth. So it's really close between those guys. And then there's Ronnie Osper, poor 55-year Dylan, who decided to stay out. He's definitely lying in his bed. The strategy that he called, he's down to 30th. And maybe at the mercy of being put a lap down. I think there's a car all the way to the apron, and it was the 83, Joey Padgett, middle 4 wide.
We'll see how that plays out for Ronnie, because, if they pit here in about 10, 15 laps, and he's got a set of tires left for a green, white checkers, they're 4 wide off of turn 4 as they're beating and banging there. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, it might not be a race-ending strategy there, as even if he does go a lap down, he'll probably take the dog if there is a caution. But the race is certainly not far from over for Ronnie Osper, as they're just begging to wreck here in this mid-pack.
And they're leaning on each other here for position inside the top 15. Reed Wilson has the spot, but Nick Olson, the great esports car on the inside, hasn't been done much tonight, but the Waxhaw, North Carolina native is not going to go away without a fight. He sends it into the corner, and Daniel Dye, the 43 Dylan, has certainly fallen off over this run. He has dropped off to 17th in this race. Remember, he was leading the outing just a little bit ago, and all of a sudden, 15, now 16 lap old tires, they're starting to get to Dye's machine. He's slowly falling back through the field, and it's a tough one there for Dye as he tries to muster up what he can, and Joey Padgett will pressure him for position inside the top 16. Another look on board with Corey Heim in the 11 leading this race. 47 to go, Dylan. And it looks like Caruth has stopped the pressure for now.
One thing that really sticks out now that I take a look at it on the telemetry when he was on pit road, I think he just went fuel only because he freaked out and saw the caution. So I think he went without taking tires, but I think he saved him enough where he was one of those that pitted on lap 17, so his tires aren't horrible, but they're still not doing too well. So I think that's what ended up happening with Daniel Dye on that caution.
He unfortunately falls back, and Bickford here in 3rd, the Napa, California native, just slowly creeping on Caruth, but top 3 have sort of broken away, and they're just kind of hanging out where they are right now. Roger Caruth certainly keeping himself honest here with Corey Heim right in front as Ryan Vargas, I believe, traded paint with Corey Deucer out of turn 4 after getting looser. I'm not sure whether it was sort of intentional contact, but both of them met side by side and forces the 26 further back. And just outside of the top 10, Dylan, we've got a fight on our hands. Vargas making contact with Fisher.
They're trading lots of paint here. There's not going to be a whole lot of paint left on these cars by the end of this race. As Ryan Vargas, he's going to come close to clear himself down for P11. As I tell you, this is a slobber knocker back there for 11th position, as I think Fisher's going to clear Vargas, but not without too easy of a fight there.
Wait, can you say that word again, Dylan?
Slobber knocker.
Slobber knocker. I've never heard that on a broadcast. That is number 1. That's number 1. Man, that's slobber knocker. That's what does slobber knocker mean in definition? As Bickford goes to the inside for second on Karoo.
Well, it's like a wrestling match. You know, they always say on the old WWE matches, this is a big slobber knocker.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Also,
that's kind of like the first time I heard gaggle, right? Like, it just sounds odd, but it makes sense as soon as you get used to it, right?
Well, also, being in the Midwest to the South, a slobber knocker is also a type of fishing bait. I don't know how much fishing you do, but yeah, it's a type of bait. I can't remember exactly. I'm not a big fisherman, but I know it's a type of bait because I'll hear it because I was talking to someone said, yeah, I just got some slobber knockers, about to go fishing. And I'm like, oh, so I had to look it up myself, but yeah, that was a big thing. So yeah, we've had a Hamilton reference and a slobber knocker reference.
Yeah, I don't know what else we can check off before this race is over, as Raja Carruth has fallen back quite a bit. Chase Cavery might be the next to take away a spot from the driver of the 13, and we'll keep an eye on Bickford here. He's been slowly picking up the pace, and he had a faster lap than Highland the last time, 40.193, as caution flag will come out. It is Nick Olsen in trouble, spun around on the backstretch.
He's going to get it going here. Doesn't look like he has too much damage here. Might have a little rear end damage, if anything, but we'll take a look at the replay and see what's going on here, as those tires probably pretty worn out, as Nick Olsen, he's in front of the 97 of Alex Monteferrante, as looks like he might get a little loose and slide up in front of the 97 and just get a little tippity tap and went spinning through the infield, and we're under caution again here just past the halfway point.
You know, Dylan, this feels like the incident we had earlier tonight with Ford Martin and Brandon Brown, where it just slowly slides up in front of the driver, and the other guy really doesn't really check up all too much because they think they can be fine pushing down the back straightaway, but that minimal contact lifts the rear tires off the ground and it sends the car in front sideways. So here's a look from Monteferrante's perspective. Yeah, it's just slight contact. I mean, it's really tough to judge, and obviously not the 97's true intention to get into Olsen there, just trying to settle in line. As we'll take a look here from Reed Wilson in the 66, who had a pretty good look at what happened right in front of him. There's the contact, and there's the spin. Olsen, though, on that trajectory towards the apron. That's good news. Nobody got into him.
That's one thing, that any slight bump, if it's the Xfinity car or whatever other car is, everyone's coming down pit road, these bumpers do not match up at all. So even the lightest tap can upset these cars like it did there, and it sent 24 spin into the infield. And that's one thing that you have to worry about, because a lot of other cars you can lean on people, you can give them a little love tap and push them down the backstretch. In this car, you can't even think about bumping, or else you'll spin someone.
And looking forward to the rest of the schedule, you see the Pro 2 trucks. You can be pretty physical with those and giving the bumper, and those trucks will be just fine. They're pretty hefty on their own. The trucks as well, you can give a bump. It's pretty square there on the rear end. The Pro 4 trucks, the same deal. Next gen cars, they have a rounded rear bumper, but you can do it. Late model stocks, you can do it too. MX-5s, we've seen countless drivers do that when they race on the bigger road courses. But with these Gen 4 cars, that's one thing. It's kind of a no-no in a way. You can't really get into the back bumper of another driver without sending them around. You have to be pinpoint accurate in how far you push your nose in there, and obviously the rate of speed you catch up to the car in front. So a little bit of an incident there with Nick Olsen. No harm, no foul. Quick caution here, lap number 59. Let's get a chance to dial up Ronnie Osmer in the 55. And Ronnie, on the last caution, you decided to not come down pit road. You stayed with your set of tires. Now another caution comes out. Just walk us through your strategy call and what you've been thinking so far as the race has progressed. Ronnie Osmer, it's Kenneth Bueno in the broadcast booth. You got me? Oh, it looks like we don't have
I don't think he does.
I'm not sure if he can hear us right now. I think he's probably focused, Dylan. That's what I'm gonna say. I think he's way focused on his strategy. Yeah, he does not want to hear any outside voices. But we'll see if we can dial up Ronnie Osmer before we get to the end of this caution break. But Ronnie Osmer, we'll see if we can bring him in again. Ronnie, you got a copy?
Oh.
Well, Ronnie, we'll see if we can get him later in this race, as I believe we do have the lights off on the iRacing official pace truck. Dylan, Corey Heim, James Bickford, Raja Carruth, top 3 drivers over that last run, but 29 was making a case for it. Now with the field on fresh tires, how do you figure this race is going to settle itself out with some of the top drivers now back clustered together?
So, everyone, I think, has about one set of tires left in this race, and there's 40 to go, plus if we decide to have a green-white checkered. So I think whoever, at least in this top 15, takes those fresh tires last is going to end up winning this race or have something to say about who's winning this race. I think everyone's used about 3 sets of tires, and it's been a real fun race to watch. You've seen all kinds of different strategies. You had half the field pit on that lap 17 caution. You had Ronnie stay out on that previous caution about lap 40 something. But now everyone's kind of on the same schedule. It's just some have one set of tires and a few have two, and it's gonna be a real fun stretch to run to the end here.
Well, Corey Heim from dead last has moved his way up to the point. We'll see if he can keep that up here on fresh tires. Everybody else, though, on the same page will cross the line for 40 laps to go here from Michigan International Speedway, and it's up to Corey Heim to get this one started once again. Lap 61 underway. He grabs the green ahead of James Bickford. He'll clear before turn 1. Some drivers peeking at 3 wide action, but it seems to settle out nicely. Now Cabry moves to the inside for second on Bickford.
I tell you, this looks like a big wreck waiting to happen. As it looks like Adam Cabot got loose in the back as they're 4 wide for about 7th or 8th. He's going to lose a bunch of spots here, as they are single filed throughout the top 5 as Corey Heim is pacing things here. Couldn't tell who that was. Someone got shuffled in the middle, and I'll tell you, they're all over the place now. Blake McCandless moving up there to 6th, and it's getting real hairy up here.
And at 17, I believe, got loose and almost got into the wall. He's dropped back to P12. Remember Daniel Dye, who was at one point 17th in the last run. He's up to 15th. As here's a look from Bickford. Caruth tries to force it through the middle. We're 3 wide for second again. And now Colin Fern on the back foot of all this inside the top 5. It is again getting dicey. And remember what I said, Dylan, about these Gen 4 races in the Summer Series? Everyone was cautious in the beginning, but once that second half rolls in, it gets competitive. It is toes down all the way right now for Michigan. Corey Heim having to hold off Cabry and everybody else trying to scrap for position.
Where did Colin Fern come from? It seems like he's just been hiding the whole race. Now he's up here in 5th. Like that's Colin Fern always has a habit of this. You know, it was kind of the same way the first race of the season. He said, you know what? I'm not going to pass anybody. I'm just going to wait at Indianapolis, and he ended up finishing inside the top 10, and I don't think he passed anybody under green, but Colin's being in business right now. It's all business as he's going to fight inside for 4th to pass James Bickford here with about 37 to go, and Colin Fern's hungry for this one as he's fighting on the outside with Roger Caruth.
Fern is also looking for his best finish of the season. That Indianapolis race where he gave that famous quote of, like you said, I'm not going to pass anyone. I'm just going to hang back and let them crash themselves. He ended up 6th, but then came away with 22nd last week at Daytona International Speedway just because of the way that race went in terms of strategy near the second half. Colin Fern is trying to stay alive at the outside of 3 wide. He's got it. Bailey Turner gives him the support in draft for about a split second. Caruth is not going away, though. The fight for 3rd continues. And at turn 3, and Bickford had to back out, got the door shut by the Sunoco Chevrolet and the DC native of Caruth.
Yeah, DC's finest fighting alongside Colin Fern here, as it is still Corey Heim and Chase Cabry up at the point of this field. But again, this is going to get real fun over the last 35 laps or so, depending if we use any green-white checkers. Pretty much the same usual names that we see up here regularly Monday Night Racing are up here fighting for this win. Again, this is getting real fun up here, man. But we've seen a lot of comers and goers. Of course, Raja and Corey Heim started last and second to last in this race, and they made their way to the front. Colin Fern, he's been kind of hanging around the 10th and 11th spot. He's up to 4th. I mean, this is far from over. I can't tell you a favorite right now.
We saw the super speedway races earlier in the year, and we really couldn't decide either who was going to come away with the victory. And it seems like tonight is the same. We're 3 wide inside the top 5. How about Cole Cabry making a dive to the bottom underneath Bickford, who's just trapped in the middle. But they're going to stay content with riding that outside lane, and it's going to keep them ahead of that speed factor number 51. Another look on board from Bickford. He stays side by side with Bailey Turner, and Chase Cabry almost had a moment there, Decon, to make a run for the lead over Corey Heim. Now he has to make sure that he keeps Raja Caruth and Colin Fern at bay, but Cabry trying to get back to the race lead since lap 24 of tonight's race. It's been a minute since the Tampa, Florida native has been at the front of the field in clean air, now trying to change it all as Colin Fern makes a big dive into turn 1.
Yeah, Fern's meaning business right now. It's go time for Colin Fern. That light switch is clicked on, and he's going to be side by side with Carruth again. But I mean, business is starting to pick up. Another wrestling reference as they'll head down to 3 and 4. As Carruth's going to run Fern up the racetrack. They're going to be 3 or 4 wide here for third place. They're all over the place. But you're Corey Heim or Chase Cabre. You got to love this in your mirror. See this big hornet's nest of cars behind you instead of in front of you.
Well, now, if you have third on back, just fighting for position, it looks like they settled it out quite easily. How do you attack on Corey Heim now? Are you doing anything alternatively, line-wise? Are you still saving the rubber as much as you can while playing defense at the same time? What's the key to try to get around Corey Heim here with 33 to go?
I don't think we're done wrecking, so there's going to be a caution. If you can get him off a pit road, or if you can get a really good restart, I think that's how you beat him. But I think if he's gets up to full song and has a really good restart and everything plays right for him, I think he's really hard to beat. I mean, you might have a guy like Roger Carruth get up there. He might have a good restart, make him work a little bit. But again, I think unless Corey makes a mistake, I don't think anyone's going to get by him.
Now, mind you, Corey Heim has not finished any better than 30th in this season of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach10 Digital. It has not been a good start for the defending champion. He's been 30th in both of those races. Now, tonight could be the chance to just change everything, get back on that dominant streak that he's been known for in this series. As Chase Cabre washes up high, there enters Raja Carruth into the picture. Battle for second, 31 to go.
Well, you know, what's the old saying? It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I think Corey Heim, he'd love a win here tonight, but I think if he could, obviously get a better finish than 30th tonight, if it's a top 2 or a top 3, I think he'll be happy with that. Just string those together to get to the playoffs. But now Roger Carruth's cleared himself for second place. Now the chase is on between these two guys that race regularly in the Craftsman Truck Series, as Roger Carruth going to be chasing down Corey Heim over in this first position.
Well, another saying to throw out there is you're only as good as your last race. Corey Heim can go into next week as good as he can be. And Heim, the defending series champion for a reason. He's slowly dominating this race here. 30 laps to go from Michigan. Field is thinning out quite a bit. Ryan Vargas has fallen through the field, unfortunately. Looks like the tires are getting to him. He just lost the spot to Nick Olson after tagging the outside wall. And look how much he's having to fight that Chevrolet. Critical path security on his car. Olson tags the wall. He moves to the inside, but the struggle is starting to creep up for these guys, Decon, through the run. Just shows you, if you wasted your tires, at a certain point in the run, you overstep, this is your fate.
Yeah, that right rear become not so friendly as Vargas fighting that wheel, man. He's sitting early in 12th position. He's trying to clear himself and get at the top so he can. The one thing that you could do is, if you have a lot of right rear issues, that means the car's sliding a lot in the corner. One thing you can do to balance that out, fix the balance of the car, is kind of overdrive a corner or two and warm that right front up, and then the car will balance out and it'll end up driving better. And I think that's what Vargas is trying to do there. Is you're on board with Daniel Dye, currently sitting 16th position. As a lot of guys, I think they're trying to fight for tires, but again, if you're a guy like Corey Heim, you're not too worried about it because you've been in clean air and you've been running the preferred line since the restart.
Yeah, clean air certainly helps if you're Heim. It just makes you a little more relaxed in that sense, to where you're not really pushing all too hard, but you're not relaxing either. You're just kind of in a happy medium at this point in the race. As Cabre looks like he'll be under fire from Colin Fern in a little bit. James Bigford trying to settle it out behind them, with Cole Cabre and Bailey Turner in the 5 are on board with the McKinleyville, California native of Turner. Finished second last week at Daytona to his teammate Adam Cabot. And again, I want to talk about the point you mentioned there, the line that you take to sort of run is, it looks like Bailey Turner is coming in to pit road.
It's a real interesting call. I'm wondering if these guys are like right on the edge of their fuel window. As I'd have to imagine the fuel window would be, I'd have to say almost 45, 50 laps or so. It's a real real interesting call for Bailey Turner. He thinks if, you know, he pits now, a lot of these guys probably aren't saving. You have to see if it's unscheduled or a scheduled stop for Bailey Turner. It looks like it's just 4 tires and fuel.
Yeah, I believe it is a scheduled stop by Bailey Turner. These drivers are coming across to 16 laps in their stint, and I believe here, when you look at the race analysis, 75% of fuel in these cars. So you're getting 75% of what will be a full tank. It actually looks like 100%, so never mind there. My fault on that one. But 75 usually is for these stock cars, but I believe Turner is just trying to get the upper hand early here, Dylan, making sure that as he undercuts, when everybody else comes in, Turner will have everything in his favor. But he's the only guy to do it, so it's pretty unique to see that Turner is just kind of on a journey all by his lonesome, as there he is, unlapping himself. That's the difference on fresh rubber here at Michigan. Nobody else, though, considering pit lane this time by. 25 to go at the line.
We had another guy come down pit road at the end there. It was kind of at the tail end when Bailey was leaving, but I believe Noah Lewis and Robbie Lyons all came down pit road, as well as Jordan Buster have made a stop down pit road. But I think the big alert light in everyone's head is kind of going off like, well, these guys just pitted. Do we need to go pit? Because, you know, we'll see how it looks for Bailey Turner as they get full song here, but he ran, everyone's running about a 40.2, 40.3. We'll see what he looks like coming across the line. But if you let him go for a little too long, he'll make up a lot of time and he'll end up being in the lead by a bunch. So see, across the line this time by Bailey Turner. Looks like he's going to run, he's running about a 38.4, the fastest lap of anyone in the race. So he's about 2 to 3 seconds quicker than the leader. So I'd say you want to be aware of it if you're these guys like Corey Heim and Roger Caruth, because, you know, if you run out of fuel or if you need to pit again, you're going to lose a bunch of time, as we have a few more guys coming down pit road, as Brandon Houff is, you're on board with him as he's sitting in the top 10. But I think Bailey Turner's made a real interesting strategy call here.
And I wonder if he's pushing it 100%, because if he's not, I mean, he's going to be faster regardless, just because he's on fresh rubber. These guys have run on their set of tires for a while. But if Turner's not pushing it, then that can be really dangerous when everybody else comes in. Brandon Brown is going to send it to pit lane. He is 20th, now 21st at the time of entry. And so it looks like we're only getting really one at a time, Dylan, for pit stops, which is, again, another thing that we really did not expect to see. We probably expected to see at least 2 or 3, 4 cars sometimes coming down all together. But it appears these strategy calls are just a guy by themselves coming in, making that decision all by their lonesome. And we're hearing drivers go over the radio. They are coming in. Chase Camry is one of them from 4th place. The 39 car is in, locks up the brakes, and I believe he makes pit road speed limit. His speed factor teammate in Monteferrante will come in. Daniel Dye and Connor Berry will follow.
So this was something that we didn't really think would come up, because I thought roughly the fuel window would be about 45 laps, but they were pushing right at the edge of that. So this will be a real fun ending to the race here, because you'll see a bunch of guys, they'll pit because they know they won't make it, but then you'll see a bunch of guys, they'll stay out as long as possible and hope for a caution, and then catch all these guys that now no longer have a set of tires left. Because if my math serves me correctly, if you pitted under this green flag run, except for Ronnie Osmer, you have no sets of tires left for this race. So that could play a big part in this one. So you might see a couple guys trying to stay out as long as possible and hope for a caution, and then just hope for the best, as I think everyone's cleared down pit road, no black flags. As Roger Caruth has come down pit road, Corey Heim still leading, as he's still staying on track. I think him and James Bickford, Blake McCandless probably going to try to ride this out.
Looks like Heim has gotten over the race chat. He says he's pitting in. So is DJ Cummings in the 10. The trio to come down pit road, Roger Caruth, Corey Deucer, and the 26 of Ryan Vargas, who overshot his pit lane, so he's going to lose a bit of time. As the 13 comes out, Corey Heim kicks it sideways, but he is in. Caution flag is at lap 80. We're going to find out exactly what happened, but there is a yellow. And Corey Heim just came down pit road with James Bickford and some other leaders as the yellow flies with 20 to go.
As we have a lot of very angry drivers over the radio, as it really threw a wrench into this one. As man, I think that was Michael Fisher that took a spin out in front of everybody as Nick Olson was involved.
Yeah, it was the 32 of Michael Fisher who has right rear damage on his Ford Fusion. That's the second incident that Michael Fisher is involved in. Take a look out of turn 4. The 32 will get hit by the 83 of Joey Padgett, but you'll watch here. Nice lap here by the 32. He goes past his speed factor teammate, Alex Monteferrante. No news at this stage of the race. Everybody's still up here. They're still trying to decide when they're going to come in. Corey Heim making his decision. There's Colin Fern and a couple of others behind. There's Brandon Half ahead of this group. So as the 32 comes in, he's going to start to slow down. The 83 is going to come up right behind him. That's the slight contact. Michael Fisher goes sideways. He tries to save it. And as he keeps it out of the wall, then he gets absolutely slammed by Nick Olson. And that is the yellow flag.
Well, this is going to get fun for these last 20 or so laps, isn't it, Kenneth?
Oh, man. Well, this is going to be fun. Nick Olson, though, not having fun with this incident. He sees the smoke come up. Trying to decide where Michael Fisher's going, man. That's a really tough call for Olson. I mean, you're going so fast, and even if you're slowing down, you really don't know where that car is going to travel, whether it's going to be up the racetrack or down. And so Olson committed to go up, thinking that Fisher was going to slide down the banking. There's a look on board from Padgett, and that, Dylan, I mean, it looks minuscule. It doesn't even look like you hit him at all. I feel like in the cockpit, you don't sense that you've gotten into the driver in front of you, and then you see him go around, and you're like, oh, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's, again, with the way these cars line up, you can't hardly think about tapping somebody without spinning them out, and you've seen it a bunch of times. It looks like very minuscule contact just turned into turning cars around, as we're going to have 18 to go this time by. And I think we're going to have a lot of cars taking the wave around as they're ahead of the on-track leader, Bailey Turner, here on the racetrack.
So it appears, even though the caution came out while the leaders were on pit road, Turner, Heim, Bickford, Cabri, Carruth, they're going to remain mostly unscathed in all this, especially Heim and Bickford coming in at the time of yellow. They will not be put a lap down as we approach 18 laps to go from Michigan. Just a reminder that tonight's Monday Night Racing Pro Series coverage is brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. Since 1986, Highland Homes Roofing has been the #1 company you can trust for all of your roofing needs. Locally owned and operated in Sebastian, Florida, and they don't use subcontractors, guaranteeing the quality and craftsmanship their clients have come to expect. Highland Homes Roofing is deeply involved in the community and have brought together the best local talent to create their roofing dream team. They take pride in all aspects of roofing and look forward to serving their area's roofing needs for many years to come. Financing is available, and for more information and to get a free quote, you can visit their website at www.highlandhomesroofing.com or find them at Facebook. Highland Homes Roofing, trust them with all your roofing needs. Also a reminder that coverage of MNR is brought to you by Mach10 Digital, your partner for stunning video production and digital marketing solutions. From concept to creation, they bring your vision to life with precision and creativity. Elevate your brand with captivating visuals and impactful messaging. From weddings to real estate videography, they've got you covered. You can contact them today at Mach10digital.com for digital excellence. Mach10 Digital, where innovation meets creativity. Well, Dylan, this is going to be a fantastic restart. Inside 17 laps to go. Bailey Turner, who is on 9-lap-old tires, will lead this field back to the green. Corey Heim trying to stay put on the outside. Cole Cabri, James Bickford behind them in row number 2. Into the restart zone goes Bailey Turner. He goes away late. We're back under green from Michigan.
I think Bailey's just going to bow out of the way. He realizes there's a discrepancy in the tires that he has on the car versus the ones that Bickford and Heim have. He's not going to try to risk it for too long as they'll go by. As looks like, oh, they're wrecking big. Oh, my goodness.
And this is our biggest wreck of the night. Brandon Half into the inside wall. More other sideways. Ronnie Osmer gets damaged. Adam Cabot looks to also be in the incident. And our biggest stack-up happens at 4-wide action on the backstretch. Gary Sexton also involved.
So I believe Mon and Ramen was really the start of that one, as he was hung in the middle. As I believe, based off the telemetry on pit road, he took 2 tires. So that was a real interesting call there, as Monin was shoved into the middle as they were at 1.5 wide into turn 1. As he got a little loose off the exit of 2, and Blake McCandless looked like had nowhere to go, and he came down and clipped Adam Cabot, and the fight was on after that.
Well, it looks like this started on the restart where they stacked up on the top side, and then Ronnie Osmer and company, they wanted to go 3 wide. They were 4 wide coming onto the back straightaway. Monin Ramen gets loose. Of course, it stacks everybody up, and no one really knows where to go because there isn't much space. And you'll see McCandless barely get into the 44 as he goes sideways up the track right there into the 17, who goes traveling into the 9. He gets hit as he goes down to the apron. Gary Sexton gets turned, and then the 55 of Osmer gets a piece of that context as he travels down, and that was a big hit to the great esports marketing number 9 Dodge Intrepid. Here's a look from the 83 of Joey Padgett trying to get through it all.
I think he had a good look at this one. As my goodness, nothing but smoke and cars, and he just parts the Red Seas, and Joey Padgett still fighting along in this one.
Hey, how about it? Nice move by Padgett to get through, and he ends up in 14th with his move up through the field. The Jack Daniels Chevrolet without any damage, and he escapes the calamity. Here's another look at it from further back, and this is from Ronnie Osmer's perspective. So you'll see here, 3/4 wide. There's that blue 44. He gets sideways. He comes up the track. There's the contact, and Osmer just gets sent to the apron. And that's a hard hit to the 9, lifting up almost all 4 tires off the ground. Nasty hit for Half. Here's a look on board.
Golly, he just had nowhere to go. As I think the night's done for Brandon Half, and took out a lot of pretty good race cars there in the mid pack. But golly, that was just I think that was just a strategy call, trying to just do a little too much there, and it took out at least 6 or 7 pretty good cars in that one.
And for Half, who started this race in 7th, had a pretty good run brewing for him under strategy, and all of a sudden just gets taken out of this race. And back to the point that we make each and every week, there's no fast repairs for the driver of the 9. I mean, he's going to have to spend all that time on pit road to get it fixed. We'll go to 14 laps to go. Corey Haim leads this race, but the man who's been challenging him for most of the outing, at least in the second half, has been Raja Karuth, the DC native, who's stepped into the top 5 and will look to gain some more positions before this is all said and done. We'll try and get a word with Raja as we will double up for the green flag in about a lap time as the lights are off on the iRacing official pace truck. So we'll see if we can get a word with Raja. You got a copy with us?
Wait, what? What?
Well, Raj, I guess you're not expecting this. You're top 5 right now. You've been one of the fastest cars on the racetrack. What's going to happen here with 13 to go on the restart?
Hey, man, I don't know, Kenny. I was hoping that that was going to run green because I did some strategy with my car, and I felt like I was going to be good there. But, man, we'll see. I felt like I was pretty good there. Corey's been a little faster than me, but I'll see if I can outrun him here on this last run of the race.
Hey, you and Haim are going at it at Homestead, Miami. You know, you two raced each other throughout the entire 2023 season. You guys were just down in Florida on Saturday. I saw you guys racing there a couple of days ago. Is this sort of a round 2 between you two, try and race hard and go at it for an MNR win?
I mean, I guess, bro. I mean, any chance I can do to get better, anything I can do to get better, I'm gonna try to work on, you know. Corey's, in my opinion, one of the championship favorites, and I know I've got a lot less experience, and racing against him is gonna make me better.
All right, well, you and Haim have been going at it. Best of luck here on the restart where you start 4th.
Bet, we'll be back. Thank you.
Raja Karuth in the Sunoco Chevrolet on the outside of the 2nd row. He'll be pushing James Bigford possibly to the front, but Corey Haim will have discretion on the restart. He gets on the gas pedal first. We're back underway in the Highland Homes Roofing 200. 13 to go. Karuth gets sent almost 3 wide. Christopher Tate looking for a charge on the top. Bailey Turner trying to fight for 2nd on James Bigford.
One thing that may play a big factor in that 13 car, he's got a lot of front end damage. I don't know if that's going to make a big difference to the handling of that race car. As we have a big wreck in the back.
Over. In the air goes Brandon Brown. Or actually, that's Josh Slade in the 01 sideways. And that's the caution again. And it was Brandon Brown that did go up into the air. Connor Berry got into him, so I was right the first time, but Josh Slate, the third car involved. Here's a look at it. The pack right in front, by the way, Dylan, of Chase Cameron, who barely gets away from it.
They're just deciding to wreck here, as that was the 0-1 car getting turned in front of the field of Joshua Slate, as that it looked worse than it really was, but it only collected just a small handful of cars. As Brandon Brown was involved, had a few other luminaries. I think Daniel Dye got a lot of damage. I think it ripped the left front off that race car. We're under caution once again here in Michigan.
And Slate getting a good look at that SimSeats logo on the hood of Brandon Brown as he goes up in the air. And he's able to land back on all fours. Daniel Dye with a bit of damage. There's the Noah Lewis Coca-Cola winter-themed Camaro, who gets a pretty big hit on this incident. Basically in the heart of this, there's Connor Berry right in front. Just not enough time to slow down, and for the 95, tough hit to the front end of his car.
Yeah, a lot of, again, we're just thinning the herd here, you know, with about 12, 15 laps to go as we're getting to the nitty gritty, and I think everyone's just fighting for those extra positions. You're on board with Connor Berry as, oh my goodness, he's got a full windshield full of car there, as that's going to have a lot of damage on that 0-2 car of Connor Berry, but I think the one that came out with the worst of that was Daniel Dye. He had a lot of left front suspension issues there, as you're on board with Adam Cabot now. I think he's going to have a good look at this one here. As, oh my goodness, he ducked out of the way. He just went to the low side and dodged all the cars. Now that's...
He was slightly involved in that last incident, so after losing all that track position, he goes away scot-free. But Daniel Dye, not so fortunate here. He's in the middle of all this too.
Get another good look at this one. He's had nowhere to go. He just ran over Brandon Brown. I think he just kind of misjudged it. I don't think it was anything malicious there to make it worse. It was going to be a bad wreck either way, but I think him just barely clipping him made that worse. I'm going to take a look at all kinds of different views of this one. Mr. Caber's going to have a big look at this one as they just calmly go spinning right by him, and he slides on through. And he makes it out there unscathed, but there were, again, a lot of cars involved in this one, as I think that was about 7 or 8 cars there.
And these are contenders, names that we've been saying all night long. I mean, Daniel Dye, Chase Cabre, Adam Cabot, all of them just losing all that track position. They're buried in the top 15, top 20. They have to get away from all this because desperation is starting to kick in, right, Dylan? You're inside 10 to go. If you want good points, you have to attack now, and that's why you're seeing guys just getting a little bit over aggressive, getting into each other, and why we're seeing some of the big crashes late, even though we've seen a rather clean race here from Michigan tonight.
Yeah, it's, you know, the first part of the race was kind of according to plan. You had a few misjudgments of, you know, just basically space, but now it's been all hex breaking loose. You had, you know, Montegraman staying out 2 tires there, which not a bad strategy call. I'll have to see if he took fuel there to make the car looser, but, you know, Ronnie Osper stayed out. There's been everything that you could probably ask for in this race has gone on, and I think we've only seen the beginning with about 9 laps to go.
And I think it's exactly like Daytona, right? You have the big crashes, you have the smaller crashes, you have the strategy, and then you have potentially a great finish to the end. I don't know. I mean, we might have something here on our hands because James Bickford has been there. It's kind of like that emoji where it's like this, you know, you never know what's going to happen. But Heim, Bickford, Carruth, Turner, heavy hitters tonight. We get the 1 to green signal, and they are right on top of each other. Heim has had some good restarts, Dylan, but he can't get too comfortable because Bickford has been there, Carruth has been there, Turner has been there, and these guys have been around him all race long for the lead.
Man, it's going to be, let's see, what's the word here? It's going to be pretty lit coming to the finish here.
Oh, man. Well, I guess at least it's a good thing that it's not nighttime here in Sim because the track can't be lit, but everything else will be lit for sure. Racing will be good. Corey Heim will lead this race from the point. James Bickford on his outside, row 1. Carruth and Turner will line up row number 2. Cole Cabre and Christopher Tate line up 5th and 6th. Nice run building up for the 3F racing car of Tate. Ryan Vargas is 7th, Colin Fernan 8th. Corey Deucer and Reed Wilson round out the current top 10. Corey Heim gets through to 9 laps to go from Michigan.
I think Bailey Turner's been trying to get out of the way here, but I think he realized, man, it's 8 to go. May as well try and race. You know, now that the discrepancy between tires isn't that much, there's that guy in the 29 car, James Bickford. Mr. Where did he come from? He's kind of like a former driver of the 29 car that's retiring at the end of this year. Just kind of shows up at the end there. They called him the closer back in the day. As Kevin Harvick, again, retiring at the end of this year. James Bickford trying to see if he could be the closer virtually.
Just felt like a game of Clue as soon as you were dropping hands. Caution is out again. Another bit of contact sends Connor Berry around, and another driver to the inside grass. That's Blake McCandless, who goes for a spin. And the yellow will bring the field to rest again, this time at lap 93, and will remain under the yellow flag. Two different incidents here, Dylan. It started with the 0-2 of Berry, getting into it with Robbie Lyons in the 2. They make some slight contact, and McCandless up the road, I believe, had contact of his own with Joey Padgett.
Yeah, Blake just got turned at the inside grass there, and it looked pretty harmless there. He just kept it out of the wall. Is another big thing with the grass physics to really help slow the car down if you're on the brakes. And I think thankfully that might just say Blake McCandless's race. He's certainly not out of it, even though he went for a little spin through the grass, but he should be all good as you're on board with Joey Padgett. Looks like he was the one that gave Blake a little bit of a tap there.
And that's the second time that Padgett gets in the rear bumper of a car and sends him around. Remember Michael Fisher, that caution that slowed the field down under green flag pit stops? Second time that the 83 gets into contact with a car in front. Blake McCandless, who was building up a solid run, only falls to 12th. So it's not over for McCandless by any means necessary, but he is going to be further back than he would like. Joey Padgett is going to get sent down pit road, so he will lose the track position. Probably will try and get a final set or just any other adjustments on the car in time. So for Corey Heim in the 11, Dylan, he's definitely relishing on all this, because as these cautions come out, this race is going to keep winding down on laps. He is going to stay up front. Field is going to be frozen, but does that elevate the pressure for Heim at all, knowing that James Bickford is there, and you know, any given restart, Bickford can get a better launch than Heim and be able to challenge for the lead?
I think, you know, regardless of who it is back there, I think there's a lot of pressure involved as you get closer to the race. But one thing that I think kind of plays into Corey's pocket is, you know, Corey's dealt with a lot of real life stress on the racetrack. So, I mean, anything virtually, I think, is just basically child's play to him. So I think he just wants to get a good restart here, get a good launch off, and I think he'll be in good shape here on this restart and throughout the rest of the race.
Corey Heim is looking for his first win in MNR. This includes Summer Series, and his last win was in the Summer Series at Atlanta Motor Speedway with the next-gen cars earlier this year on July 10th. But if you're looking for the last Pro Series win, it came at Homestead Miami Speedway with the Xfinity Series cars back in February this year. That was the season finale that got him the Season 6 Pro Series Championship. And as we talked about earlier, it's been a pair of top 30 finishes for Heim after suffering crashes in both Daytona and Indianapolis races to kick off Season 7. Tonight can be that turnaround that gets him on a momentum train for the next couple of races, especially when we have more Gen 4 action to come our way after the Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen. Then we'll have his combo decision, GT4 Porsches at Long Beach. Dylan, that's going to be a lot of fun. We've never been to Long Beach in MNR history, but you know, Corey Heim can set the tone with all the other combos that we're yet to see later in the season, including trucks at Bristol, a car that he races every single week.
Again, a lot of fun combos. I mean, I can't wait for the one next week. Pro 2s at Watkins Glen. That's going to be, I don't know what that's going to be. That's going to be fun, though. I think that's one of the first eclectic combinations that we'll have here on the Monday Night Racing schedule. But again, a lot of good races coming up here. A lot of Gen 4. I think, again, like I mentioned in the pre-race, they struck gold with this Gen 4. And it's produced some good racing. It's produced good racing tonight as well.
And the thing is, if you've been able to master the Gen 4 car tonight at Michigan, that probably does you well for the next one at Charlotte in the regular season, the season finale in the regular season at Atlanta, and then all the other Gen 4 races that you have in the playoffs. And boy, there's a lot of them. Homestead Miami with the Gen 4, Old Kentucky with the Gen 4, then Auto Club in Chicagoland to close the season, pair of races to bring Season 7 to a close. So if you've got some good notes on this Gen 4 car tonight, if you've done well so far, it probably means you're pretty much not set, but you're on a good foot forward for all the other Gen 4 races in the near future in this series. Corey Heim is looking to capture his first win of Season 7. We'll have a restart with 5 laps to go and 10 miles here from Brooklyn, Michigan. Corey Heim lags back on the restart. He gets away from James Bickford for turn 1.
Man, Heim kind of had a little issue on that restart. He kind of backed up. Carruth almost ran through him, and that was able to give Carruth a good launch off the bottom as Bickford was able to lose some time because I think he was worried about passing Heim there for the lead.
Christopher Tate, car number 30, backs out on the inside. He gets loose out of turn 2. They're trying to still settle it out. And Carruth slots into second. First side-by-side battle is for fourth. Cabry in the 5100. Chase Cabry in the 39. They're going at it for position. Now Bickford looks underneath. And Heim approaches 4 laps to go.
Yeah, I think Roger Carruth, if he wants a chance, he's got to clear this 29 car as he's blocking every lane to keep James Bickford behind him, and I don't think Bickford's going to play too kindly to that, as he might, well, I say put a bumper to him, but that could spin him out and cause a big wreck in front of the field.
Well, it appeared there, just checked up in the middle of the corner. Now we're 3 wide. Colin Fern trapped in the middle inside the top 5 in between a Cabry sandwich entering turn 3. He clears Cole. Not enough to clear Chase, who makes a slide job in 3. Oh, trouble on the track, and he gets into him. The 39 into the outside wall. They get slammed by Corey Deucer, and that brings out a yellow with 4 to go. It's not over yet. Noah Lewis and Nick Olson into it, and about a 5-car pileup at the exit of turn 4.
That was a slobber knocker of an accident there. Oh my goodness. Colin Fern, I think, knocked every quarter panel of that race car off. Oh my goodness, that was a big accident. He ran through the 39, and I couldn't tell who it was, got turned in there. That was a big impact there into turn number 4. Is that, golly, that had to be 10 plus cars. That was Deucer that went nose first into that pack of cars there. I mean, that was a hellacious impact there by Deucer. As right on board, see if he got clipped as strapped at the TV. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he just got hit and just lost control. He couldn't do anything to get away from that. Here's another look from Deucer's perspective. Colin Fern, boy, he is livid on the radio right now, and there's a hit from Deucer. Sends Chase Cabry up in the air. Those are 2 speed factor Ford Fusions that will be taken out of this race, and then the contact ensuing after the 96 is almost done wrecking. Then comes the 95 of Noah Lewis. And there was another car in there as well, Nick Olson in the 24, who gets collected in the mayhem. So there's the big bit of contact. There's Fern in the 96, spinning at the bottom of the racetrack. Bam! Goes Lewis up in the air, bringing Nick Olson into the safer barrier.
Well, I will say this about this incident. If I repeated what the drivers are saying to each other, they might relieve me of my duties. But yeah, a lot of blankety blanks in there, but yeah, as we're on board with Nick Olson, oh God, he had it stopped, but he just had nowhere to go. But goodness gracious, they wrecked a lot of cars there. It's, Colin Fern's. Yeah, this is a big junkyard here in Michigan with 3 to go. Hey, we're gonna have a green-white checker coming up here, Kenneth.
Yeah, we are. It gives that opportunity for Raja Carruth to finally break free of Corey Heim and get his first win in a while. I believe it will be his first win in MNR since Season 4 with the Xfinity Cars at Auto Club. That was the season finale where Adam Cabot grabbed his first Monday Night Racing Championship. Remember that night vividly at the Carolina Esports Hub. So it's been quite a while since Carruth has visited victory lane. For Heim, it has not. But yeah, you're right. It certainly turned into an attrition race late in the going. I mean, we've seen a lot of carnage happen late. Guys are getting desperate. You're seeing those moves play out the way they are, and minimal contact is sending drivers around. I think if we tried to repeat anything that was said on the radio, FCC will come and hunt us down and take us down immediately.
Yeah, I think they might find a new broadcasting crew if we did the same thing. So, but yeah, hey, it's gonna be a fun green-white checker. Again, Heim, all he has to worry about, I think, because this is a different animal that he's going to have next to him, he needs to have a good restart here and then just get to the preferred line and he can just cruise. But Roger Carruth's very aggressive driver. He's a monster when it comes to sim racing. He's pretty good. He's very aggressive, but like the good kind of aggressive. And it's going to be fun to see what happens on this restart, especially with James Bickford out behind Corey Heim as well. You might see this be 3 or 4 wide going into turn 1.
And this is going to be the ultimate test of skill because these cars are past 20 laps on their set of tires. They've worn them out quite significantly. The only driver with the freshest tires in the field, at least as the top 10 is concerned, it's Adam Cabot. Only 14 laps he's put on his set of general tires. So the Alice Hair Care number 17 does have fresher rubber, but it really hasn't been that much of an advantage for Cabot yet. And will that matter in the last 2 laps? Who knows? But we've got the 2 Craftsman Truck Series drivers, Raja Karuth and Corey Heim at the front of the field. James Bickford, Cole Cabry behind them in row number 2, our first of 3 green-white checkered attempts. We'll try and get to the white under green. If a yellow comes out, we'll do it all over again, and we'll continue to give you the rules if we need to get there. In the Highland Homes Roofing 200, Heim will have the lead with 4 miles remaining from Michigan International Speedway. Pace truck is down. We'll skip into the restart zone. Heim will let it off late. He goes away first, back under green. First attempt at overtime.
Carlo
gets run by Bickford trying to shut the door. The 13 will save it, and the caution does not wave. We're still green.
Vargas tried to get to the bottom. Not Vargas. Roger Carew tried to get to the bottom. There was just not any room to do that. As they'll go down the backstretch, Reed Wilson now moves up into second. But I think, that was just a real iffy move there as they'll go down to 3 here.
Reed Wilson shot out of a cannon. He's out of nowhere. He moves into second, but Corey Heim, to look off the rear bumper, will have cleared away track position for the white flag in the Highland Homes Roofing 200.
Wreck in the back. It's going to be about an 8-10 car wreck here around 10th as they're still piling up. Oh my goodness, they're just adding into this one down the backstretch.
They're all still wrecking back there. Multiple cars down low. There's Jordan Buster. Beaten and battered.
Look at him blocking to the apron.
All the way to the apron for about 4th on back. Reed Wilson will have one more shot at Corey Heim, but he is way too far back. The defending series champion is back on top of the Monday Night Racing world. Corey Heim wins at Michigan.
Quite the celebration there after the start-finish line. That was kind of lit.
I was hoping that he wouldn't spin that car around and give Reed Wilson the win at the end, but Corey Heim stays ahead by almost half a second and comes away with his first win of the season. Talk about domination in that last segment. We'll try and get a replay of the last restart and get all the storylines in for you. We had a big crash back there that you mentioned, Dylan. But what a performance by Corey Heim, who gets back on top and takes the Highland Homes Roofing 200.
So big congrats to our winner, but I think what happened, I keep wanting to say Ryan Vargas, but it was Raja Caruth. He was trying to get to the preferred line to run down Corey Heim, and he just couldn't get there.
For Wilson, who started tonight's race in 14th, had not seen the top 3 basically all night long. He comes away with that second place position. There's Raja Karuth giving his congratulations to the winner, the Marietta, Georgia native of Corey Heim for Hog Tamers. Wins here at Michigan. We'll park it on the front stretch, and we'll try and give you the full unofficial results of the Highland Homes Roofing 200. We'll see first if we can get a replay of exactly what happened on the restart. But Dylan, it's pretty much been the same as the other restarts. If you're looking only at driver number 11, he goes away first. He lets the whole field decide their fate. Bailey Turner gets into the wall. Raja Karuth tries to shut the door on James Bickford. He gets spun around. No caution comes out. And then all hell breaks loose on the final lap.
Yeah, there was a big wreck around 11th or 12th position back there as well after the white flag was over, after the white flag was out. But I mean, there were at least 3 or 4 different almost wrecks before they got to turn 2. As it looked like Caruth he was trying to get to the bottom and just ran out of room. And I mean, there was a lot that happened these last 2 laps and a lot of wrecked race cars. as I believe, I want to say, couldn't remember exactly who all was in that wreck, but I know it was around 11th or 12th.
It started there. Cole Caber getting turned on the front stretch, and then a big wreck in turn 1.
Yeah, Cole Caber was involved, again, one of our early leaders in this race, as, my goodness, there were a lot of cars involved in that one. That was a big accident. It looked like he just got run over. Couldn't tell who that was that run him over. But
was that Joey Paget in the 83?
Yeah, it looks like it was, but we'll have to see how race control scores this one, if any positions have to be changed or whatnot. But it looked like he just ran straight through him.
He goes through, and he does come away without any damage. Michael Fisher and Ryan Vargas just follow him in the clean path to the start-finish line. That's such a huge wreck, taking multiple drivers out of this one. And look at the blocking all the way to the apron. We'll check on it later. But Joey Paget, another look here out of turn 4, just gets the run. There's a view from Brandon Brown, who got severely torn up on this incident. And right about here is where Caber will get turned, and that's where the mayhem starts.
I just had nowhere to go. There were a lot of cars involved in that one, but I mean, that was just hellacious there. But I mean, a lot of heavy accidents in this one. As look, he's blocking all the way 2 or 3 lanes below the apron. That's why I saw Corey Heim pull it away. I was like, oh my God, they're gonna wreck like on the apron back there. But they kept it going, and that was a. But yeah, that was a good finish.
Bickford and Adam Cabot going toe-to-toe on the apron, and they finished the race inside the top 5. But let's take a grand look at the unofficial results on tonight's Highland Homes Roofing 200 from the Michigan International Speedway, and it is Corey Heim, the defending series champion, back on top of the checkered flag of his own. He is the 3rd different winner of the season. Reed Wilson in the 66 car didn't call his name much throughout tonight's affair, but he ends up P2. A hard-fought last 2 laps driven by Reed Wilson. Got to give him the credit. James Bickford, strong all night long, but could not get around the 11 car near the end. He finalizes the top 3 here from Brooklyn, Michigan. Christopher Tate for 3F Racing comes away with 4th. Nice positioning there for the 30. Adam Cabot in the 17th comes away with a top 5 after coming home, or starting rather, in P6. Blake McCandless, remember, he got spun on the front stretch. That did not bring out a yellow at first. Actually came out with a yellow with Connor Berry. He rebounds to 6th place after starting 31st. Daniel Dye in the 43. His return to Monday Night Racing results in a 7th place finish. Moden Rahman in the 44, back and forth throughout the night, but he comes away with 8th. Joey Paget finishes in 9th, and Michael Fisher in the 32. Dylan rounds out the top 10.
So we'll go back 11th on back. Ryan Vargas finishing in 11th position. He was everywhere on the track. Robbie Lyons in 12th. Nick Olson, who's just been beat all to hell tonight. He's been in a couple different accidents, brings it home in 13th. Joshua Slate in 14th. Gary Sexton, who was a couple laps down at the start of the race. He didn't know how his race would end, or if he could even get it going again. Finishes 15th on the lead lap. Brandon Halfish is 16th. Connor Berry 17th. Alex Monteferrante in 18th. Raja Caruth, who got turned in front of the field and was as far back as like 25th place, comes back to 19th. And over in 20th place, Bailey Turner, again, who was one of our big contenders up front, finishes 20th as we get back into where a lot of the wrecking happened.
Those 3 cars, 19th, 20th, and 21st, probably not reflective of their strength over this race. Caruth getting turned late, Bailey Turner getting into the outside wall. Cole Caber in the 51, he also got turned on the white flag, created that big stack up in turn 1. He's 21st after starting tonight on pole. Brett Baldeck in the 4 is 22nd. Chase Caber, another strong driver in tonight's race, who started 2nd. He is 23rd at the checkered flag. DJ Cummings is 24th. Colin Fern, who got into it with Caber near the end of the race, he rounds out the top 25. Then goes Jordan Buster in the 8, 26, 27th to Noah Lewis, 28th to Brandon Brown, and Brown comes away as the last driver on the lead lap. Corey Deucer is the first lap car in 29th. Ronnie Osmer is 2 laps down in 30th. 11 laps down for Presley Sora, 31st. Ford Martin, 32nd. And rounding out our 33 car field, the number 7 of Will Rogers. Let's take a moment to speak with the drivers on the podium, and we'll start with Charlotte Phoenix's James Bickford in the number 29 machine with 3rd here from Michigan. And James, I mean, no surprise that you were fast with these cars. We saw what you did in the summer series. Probably expected you to run up front, and you did. Just talk us through what maybe you were missing there in that last run to the checkered flag to get around Corey Heim.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, what I want to say is that was an awesome race. Pretty much start to finish, I had an absolute blast, and I had a blast in the summer series. I think iRacing did an amazing job with these Gen 4 cars. They drive super nice, and the biggest thing is they drive into what I think fits my driving style, which is really, really hard on the rear end and a loose race car. So I love how they drive. Starting out, didn't have the best qualifying run, so knew I had to work through the field. And as we got into the later stages of the race, I'd say around the midpoint, I kind of figured out my line. And I think I was the only person that was running the bottom, and then it seemed like everybody shifted to the bottom, so I lost a little bit of my advantage. But seemed like it was just really Corey, me and Raja just on an absolute tear, and it was an absolute blast. Unfortunately, when Raja and I got into it there at the end, ended up with some front end damage, so that put us in third. But yeah, it was overall a great race.
And talk to us about that move on the last lap. You and Adam Cabot were traveling all the way underneath the apron to the backstretch. I mean, is that just like you're just going to defend as much as you can? Doesn't matter how much real estate you're using on that final lap?
Yeah, I mean, so I was probably down about 5-10 miles an hour. So I had the center speed as I did all race, but when we exit off the back straightaway, I knew Adam was going to be coming with a run, and I tried to make it as clear as possible. I was going to the bottom, and he really wanted the bottom, and I was really going to go as far as I needed to in order to protect that, because I knew staying on the bottom in 3 and 4 was going to give me the best shot to put it third instead of fifth. So if he got me, then both drivers were going to get me. So I just defended as much as I possibly could.
Hey, well, that's all that matters. If you hold the fort down, you hold the fort down. Doesn't matter what you do for it. Your top 3 finish is your best on the season, James, which, I mean, it's safe to say that Daytona and Indianapolis did not go your way entirely, but talk to us about now how you feel your first podium of the season and how you can gather that momentum to the rest of the year.
Well, obviously, the super speedways have a little less to do with skill. I mean, obviously, skill is still a play, but I mean, you get involved in a wreck, and nothing you can do about it. And I think it's just going to be really good for the rest of the regular season, because there's no more super speedways, which sometimes can play in my benefit, sometimes they can't. But I'm excited for the rest of the season, because I think we'll be really, really competitive, especially with the Gen 4s coming up quite a bit in the rest of the regular season. So I'm really excited for it. This next level racing chassis was able to bring me to a top 3 finish, and again, I can't thank Charlotte Phoenix and everybody so much. Matt Scott, my dad, participating and helped me out with all the strategy calls, and looks like we pulled one out, just pulling in with Corey right at the caution, so that also put us in a great spot.
Well, now we move over to the next race, and I'm sure that you'll like the combo. I think everybody in MNR kind of likes it in some way or another. The Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen. That's always a lot of fun. What do you think about that combo and how you're going to perform next week?
Well, I would consider, since I beat SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, at that track, and I don't know if he's going to be back, I would say I have a pretty good shot. We were incredibly fast there the last time we ran, ended up winning the race, and just a crazy fashion, banging doors, hitting off of each other, going into the chicane. So hopefully it's going to be exciting again, and hopefully we can go back to back and win both the races there.
Recently MNR posted on Twitter about that finish. They were like, throwback to this fantastic finish. I remember I was there for that and on the call when you got away with that win over SVG. Stunning race there at Watkins Glen. I'm sure it's going to be another great one next week. James, on behalf of our entire broadcast team, congratulations on the podium here from Michigan. We'll see you at Watkins Glen next Monday night.
Thank you so much. See you at Watkins Glen.
James Bickford with a 3rd place finish in his number 29 Charlotte Phoenix Chevrolet and Decon. What a finish for Reed Wilson, who comes home 2nd. You've got him.
Yeah, Reed Wilson, you kind of just came out of nowhere to finish in that 2nd position tonight, as you were kind of all over the place in the front and the back and the middle. But tell us how the end of that race played out for you.
Yeah, man. Well, here's the thing. I didn't really come out of nowhere. I'm everywhere, always, at all the time. So we tried to work a strategy. We tried to big brain it there at the beginning and save a set of tires. But in this series, sometimes smooth brain really is big brain. So we kind of missed the ball on that when we got set about middle of the pack. Track position mattered a lot more than I thought. And then we just kind of got lucky with the pit cycle there at the end, and that just moved me through the field. So we had those crashes, and we could kind of miss it, and then just ended up in the right place at the right time on the finish.
So you had a good race tonight. Of course, there's a lot of Gen 4 left on the schedule this year. Of course, we have Pro 2 Lights next week at Watkins Glen. Are there any other races on the schedule this year that kind of just pop out, like you could have a chance to win like you did tonight?
Honestly, man, I think it might be any night. Any night I either have a chance to win or a chance to throw it right into the wall, firewall deep. It's kind of a wild card with me. I don't really practice that much. Just hop on the night before and see what it does.
Well, Reed, good job tonight finishing in P2. Anybody you want to thank real quick?
Yeah, real quick. I want to shout this out. Started this brand. It's called JoeySucks.shop. So Joey Padgett, the one that finished P9 and wrecked the field, he sucks. So go on to JoeySucks.shop, buy a $13 t-shirt. It'll support a good cause. Just letting the world know that Joey sucks. I'd also like to thank BMW. They're the ones that got me here with the great driving skills. There you go, man.
I just typed that in. That's a pretty good website. I might need to buy something from there.
JoeySucks.shop. Let the world.
As that was our second place finisher, Reed Wilson. Oh my goodness, that was a fun interview. As I believe Kenneth Bueno is standing by with our race winner tonight. It's Heim time. Corey Heim is our winner tonight. Kenneth, you got him?
I do, and I'm going to say that I wasn't expecting that from Reed Wilson, but certainly a lot of fun stuff. We head to Victory Lane. We are joined by Corey Heim, and Corey, your first win since Homestead Miami Speedway to get to the championship in Season 6. How good does it feel to finally get back on top in the Pro Series? See if we can try to get Corey Heim. I think he's trying to settle in the audio. He was talking through the mic. I don't believe we actually got the receiving end of it. So we'll see if we can get Corey Heim in it. Corey, you got a copy? All right, so we'll give it more time. But, I mean, Corey Heim certainly put on a show at the end of tonight's race from Michigan International Speedway. We'll try one more time to get Corey in from Victory Lane. You got a copy with us? All right, so we'll wait on it for a minute. Corey Heim trying to deal with some of the technical difficulties. His audio is not fully coming through, but we'll promise to get you that interview here with Corey Heim in just a moment in the 11. But Dylan, what a race here from Michigan. I'd say whenever you get Gen 4s on track, it's a certified banger. It is absolutely good no matter what you do, no matter what track you put on it, always puts on a show. And with this Monday night racing field, they bring the best out of it. While we did see a lot of attrition near the end, the racing up front, second to none. I think it sets the tone for all the other Gen 4 races we'll have in the near future this season.
You know, I've just been real happy that we've had 3 really good races to start off. Like, they haven't been sleepers. They haven't been just one guy dominating the whole race. Corey Heim started in last tonight, literally the last car on the racetrack. He came from the back all the way to the front to win this one, as I think we have Corey Heim's microphone issues figured out. As Kenneth, see if you got a copy with Corey.
All right, Corey, you got a copy with us in the broadcast booth?
Yeah, my something's going on with my camera between my my mic. I don't know. It's only one or the other, I guess. So all good though.
It's all good, all good.
Yeah.
Well, Corey, in a Victory Lane here for the first time in Season 7, and I mean, I have to ask you, 33rd on the starting grid, dead last because you joined qualifying in the middle of it. You were forced to start all the way back there. How good does it feel to slowly work your way up to the field and hold off the field in the final segment of this race to come away with your first win of the year?
Yeah, great. It's such a fun car track combo. I actually did it a couple weeks ago in a separate league, and didn't get any practice tonight, but it was like same setup and everything. So didn't really need it, just because I did it so recently. But I was really looking forward to this race. It's really fun because you can use so many different lanes, and it's a very competitive racetrack. A lot of tire saving, just a lot of different elements that makes it a driver's track. So definitely had a lot of fun. Super thankful for Race CPI, Elite Performance Industries, and Twitter Racing, Hog Tamers. But Yeah, definitely. One of the more fun car track combos we were going to, so I was really looking forward to it. And as you mentioned, it's definitely good to be back.
And always fast whenever you enter the racetrack here in Monday Night Racing competition. And obviously, third place finish at Homestead. I was out there a couple of days ago. You entered yourself into the championship 4 in the Craftsman Truck Series. You come back to MNR and you come out the gate swinging with a P1 win. And how's that momentum like for you, and how's it been over the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I love racing, so it's anytime I can hop in a car, whether it's virtual or reality, and go out and compete and win races, it's fun. Yeah, Homestead was good. It was, definitely felt like we had the fastest truck till we had damage. So I wanted to maybe get a little bit of redemption, even if it's on the virtual side, and did just that tonight. So once again, just super thankful for Race CPI and Hog Tamers Toyota Racing and everyone at Monday Night Racing for putting on a good show. And definitely had some good green flag runs tonight. Got a green flag pit stop in, so it's good to see that we're cleaning it up a little bit, and hopefully we can keep it rolling going forward.
All right, Corey, it's your 6th career win in Monday Night Racing competition. And as the season rolls forward, you've got your Champion's Choice track car combo in a couple of weeks. So I'm sure you're very excited about that. On behalf of our entire broadcast team, congratulations on the win in the Highland Homes Roofing 200. Hopefully we'll see you next week at Watkins Glen with the Pro 2 lights.
All right, much appreciated, guys. Thank you.
That's Corey Heim, driver of the 11, finally able to talk to him in victory lane for the first time this season. And after 2 30th place finishes, I'm sure, Dylan, that's the comeback he wanted to have. That's the statement he wanted to make when the season started. Just did not get the opportunity to. Now he's got it. What a race from Michigan. And as we close off, we get to now have our sort of idea of what Gen 4 racing is going to look like for the rest of the season. Who's got it handled, who does not, who needs to take some lessons about this car a little later on in the future, and how that will make it a pivotal race for the championship at season's end when we have Gen 4 races all over the place.
I mean, the Gen 4 is the most prevalent car on the schedule, and it's going to make the championship's going to be decided in a Gen 4 car, I'd have to imagine. I mean, it's scattered all over the schedule. They race in Atlanta, Chicagoland, a bunch of other racetracks, but there's a very strange combo that we'll have next week, as we've kind of had ones that are, we've had the Dallara at Indianapolis, and then we had next gen at Daytona, and then we had tonight, but we're going to have the Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen. So that's a very out of the ordinary combo. It should be a good one, and I really have no idea how that's going to go, but I can't wait to see what happens.
It's a fan favorite combo. It's a driver favorite combo in Monday Night Racing. The admins love it. The broadcasters love it. Everybody is a fan of this combo. First time since season 5 we raced the Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen. So that will be another classic that comes your way next Monday, October 30th. You can find it same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Podium Esports Twitch channel. So that will do it for our coverage of the Highland Homes Roofing 200 from Michigan. For Ford Martin and everyone at Monday Night Racing, for Brandon Davis and Michael Holland Race Control, for Gary Sexton at Podium Esports, for our camera builder Dougie Beard, our overlay builder Michael Hall, Cameron Aubernon on our Podium Esports social media, and for the crew on the broadcast tonight, for our producer Ryan Bauer and my colleague in the booth Dylan Connolly, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Corey Heim is victorious from Michigan, Watkins Glen, next Monday night.